kept you waiting, huh?
Like it's not. He did the same thing like with the Super Bowl like thing. He was like that. There is a thing where he's like rhyming against himself and like, you know, I don't know.
He always does that.
It's been a thing. Even like even back then on Eminem's show, he says like they don't want Marshall no more. They want Shady. I'm chopped liver.
Yeah.
You know, like it was always been that Shady versus like Eminem versus Marshall, whatever.
No, yeah.
And it just kind of like as the years gone on, I don't know. I think there's something. There's just something that's hard to take, and I this happens with a lot of MCs. It's just like when they get bigger, that like that hunger that they had, you can't really replicate it.
No, absolutely.
You know,
not.
like if they got the craft, and there's some people that find the way, but there's something that gets lost when you get to a certain level, and it's like you don't necessarily have to prove yourself anymore.
No, absolutely.
And
I
even
think
if you try, you're just like proving yourself to yourself. And
he should. I mean, enjoy it now. I mean, Dr. Dre.
I'm not hating on it.
If he produces and does stuff in the shadows, I feel like he's made his point up until now, where it's like he can do that. He can relax. He can chill. Dr. Dre did it. You know, he should be kind of segueing into that second chapter where it's just like, you know, he's doing that now instead of putting out. Like, I feel like you're right. He's trying to compete. I mean, I don't know.
With his old self.
Yeah, and
basically.
it's just like, man, it's totally different time, different everything. I mean, he can.
It's just like, for me, as a writer, like, you know, it's undeniable his pen game is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I think he gets like, you know, and you guys know I'm technical, and I get really deep into the weeds with that shit. But I think that's his crutch. That's his like thing, is like he gets a little too technical. Like, he's doing like these rhymes within rhymes within rhymes.
Yeah.
Like,
what's that called? That's called something.
I mean, there's like, you know, like basically multi-syllabic rhyme schemes that, you know, and depending on the frequency, like could be triplets, whatever, but like he does like literally like every other word is like rhyming with the, you know, which is dope. But like at a certain point, it's like
you're running out of.
I had a poetry teacher, and she told me too that like you got to have this balance between like rhyming for the sake of rhyming and then like what you're actually trying to say and like write, you know. And I know that that's like a thing that you can fall on, is like it rhymes, but you're not necessarily painting a picture.
No,
you know, and that's why, it's like
you're kind of all over the place, is what you're saying.
A little bit, or it's just like the punchline is like, all right, that's cool, but it's not like, you know, like my favorite M shit is like Sing for the Moment, like Rock Bottom, like the deep emotional shit, like even Lose Yourself is pretty dope, like, but like, you know when he gets really and he gets into the feels, that's why we sing for these kids that don't have a thing except for a dream in a fucking rap magazine, post pinup on pictures all day long, you know, like like that shit. It's like,
because it's creative.
It's creative, but it's also like it's like, you know, I feel that. But when he's just like, and then Megan Thee Stallion, whatever. Like,
she didn't get
on the fuck about her. I don't know. You know,
I mean, nobody's really. I don't know. Everyone was kind of confused by not only that line, but
I didn't even get the line. I had to look it up. Like,
I don't understand that. What, she didn't want to do?
I guess she's got big feet. It's like it was a double entendre. It was like like a feature, but also like her feet, I guess, are big.
Well, the thing
or
with that is that Megan Thee Stallion, she got shot in her foot.
Oh, that's what it is.
Allegedly or confirmed.
See, I had it all wrong.
By Tory Lanez. No, you got it. You're good.
I just assumed.
You got it.
The table.
I mean, regardless, it was a pretty stupid bar, anyways.
Yeah.
So even with that in mind, it was a pretty dumb bar.
Yeah.
And something about like a Siamese cat or something. I read that bar too. I was like, that's pretty dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. It leaned in heavy. It just felt like a parody track.
Yeah.
And I think it essentially was. And if you looked at the video, it was basically like kind of making fun of himself.
Yeah.
You know, with the whole like Without Me kind of vibe, and bringing it back to that. And like he had callbacks to some of his stuff. It was like,
it was kind of nostalgic in a way.
It was nostalgic in a way, and it was kind of like, all right, I see what you're doing, but just as like, it's not a track that I'm gonna listen to. It's not like, and I just felt like he's just bored trying to figure out something new.
Like
to
he's
do.
not exactly. He's not. He's not relevant. I mean, he's relevant, but he's not.
Nah,
he's trying to be
relevant, but it's just
he's trying to be out there again and kind of get shock value for what he's doing. And it's like, I mean, I get it, his last record, but I think he's just trying to make up. He's trying to compete I don't know why. I mean, nowadays it's a different shift. I mean, I like his music, up until where it's at now. I know a lot of people were kind of not happy with his last album, which was
his last couple albums.
How long ago was his last album though?
I don't know.
It's been a while. I mean, I don't follow him like that too much, like closely.
I think
a
couple years.
I
don't
mean,
know. Yeah,
what he did, you kind of just leave it at that and you move on. And like I said, if he produced and did more tracks with people and produced their stuff, if he can, I don't know if that's even his thing. I feel like it'd be a better kind of segue into the second part of his career doing that. Because, I mean, I think him trying to release some stuff like this is just... It was kind of like a parody. It was weird.
It's interesting though because like it hits though. Like it was like the #1 on YouTube. Like
But I think people
I
just.
think people were just intrigued.
Yeah.
They wanted to see. Like a car accident. People just couldn't look away. I'll be real. Seeing him, even if it was in a joking manner, seeing him revisit the whole Slim Shady moniker kind of just grossed me out a little bit. It felt like someone who peaked in high school and then, like they're trying to relive it. It kind of reminds me of like Kanye tried to go back to that graduation era and try to go backpack rapper again. It would be like just gross, even if he was doing it in a joking way.
I think if they just did it, like on a content, like in a structural, like like if the punchlines hit, like if the lyrics were there, I think they could pull it off. That's just where it falls off for me. Like I don't mind him going back to that because that's the shit I like. Yeah. That era. But like I think if but like I said, it's like but he's trying to do that with the way he rhymes now, and it doesn't feel right.
For me, it just feels like disingenuous. Like they're so far gone from that era, and like them trying to play into it. Just it's inauthentic to me.
Yeah. No, I mean
that's
coming. Well, to be fair, I do have a bias against Eminem because I never liked his music, but I'm just speaking my truth.
I mean, I think that when he was hitting early days was great.
Yeah, first
it was
three
innovative. Everybody was like, "Whoa, this guy's crazy."
Yeah.
And then now it's like it's tapered off. He's came out with some people with 50 Cent and all of them and
I mean it's the movement is undeniable. Like bringing 50 and then the G Unit crew, like all that stuff like kind of stemmed from him too. Yeah. And like it's the Shady Aftermath thing. Yeah. And I still stand by like those first 3 albums. Like there are like if you isolate certain songs, like they maybe are a little cringy because of the way he it's a shock value thing. But some of those things are still gems that I think will continue to stand the test of time.
Yeah. I always, when it comes on, it doesn't get.
And like I would say when I say first 3, I'm actually referring to like the first mainstream 3. But there was really a lot of people sleep on like his first real joint. It was called Infinite. And that's like a real like that's underground hip hop. That's before Dre. It's like
you're finding these gems out there.
And that's a
I don't think not too many
that's like Infinite. You heard of hell? Well, I was sent from it. I went through it, serving a sentence for murdering instruments. And I'm trying to repent from it. But when I hear the beat, I'm tempted to make another attempt at it. Like,
I mean that's
just bars. Like bars, and that's M. That's bars. M. Way back.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, those bars are crazy, and a lot of that shit still stands. But it's like once he starts getting, it was Encore, and then on it's kind of just it felt like it got more diluted.
No, absolutely.
But anyways,
you good?
Get that off his chest.
I know. Well, I brought it up, so
I mean
I did want to add just because I've seen some conversations on Twitter about it, but in reference to something that like Andre 3K had said about him revisiting rap and people wanting him to continue to rap, in which Andre, I can't remember the exact words, but he said something along those lines of that he just wouldn't know what to rap about anymore, considering that his age. Yeah. Like, no one would want to hear him rap about, like, getting a colonoscopy, is I believe what he had mentioned.
I think is that part of that interview where he's in the laundromat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, no, and it's cool, and I appreciate him for, it's kind of like what you said. It's like that genuine, like, I get where you're coming from with the disgenuine or factor, and like where they're like maybe still trying to make something work that maybe doesn't need to work. Yeah. And I respect, Andre I respect 3 Stacks for that, because yeah, he went in a whole like his flute album and shit, and like I was like, I still haven't listened to it, but I listened to a little bit, and I was like, I gotta check this out. And I'm all for the like, do what you want to do, not necessarily what the people want. Like, you know, if your heart's in something else, like, you just do it anyway. So yeah, that's a good point. I think it's just like, it's hard when you build up these fan bases and these followings, and you're known for this one thing. And, you know, it even happens to like YouTubers, for instance. It's like, it's just like that's just the thing. It's like, oh, you fell off, you're not doing this. And it's like, well, I mean, they're just doing something different. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't discredit the work they've done. No. You know, I still think art stands on its own. Yeah. I stand by that, you know.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, because people had mentioned maybe Eminem is unknowingly getting to that point where it's like, maybe it's time to kind of retire. Just hang it up, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, be hitting that age limit there, buddy. But then people are saying, is there really an age limit?
I don't think there is, and I think that's just the new territory we're approaching with hip hop. But people like, you know, like Big Daddy Kane and stuff are still touring, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you know, they're still doing shows, and like a lot of these people are still in it. And it's just like, it's just new for us because hip hop's, you know, young, in that sense. And I also think though, like, if like for instance in the case of like Andre 3K, it's like, yeah, if he doesn't want to rap anymore, that's cool. You do what you want to do. But I, to the same credit, even though I might not mess with M's newer stuff, if that's what he wants to do, I'm all for it.
Support
like,
it.
I think, you know, just as like an artist, like you might not even feel your own stuff, or people might not feel it, but like, you know, you could tell like to a fault, like that he's really dedicated to the craft. And while I think that kind of takes away from some of like the depth that he has, there is something satisfying about being like, yeah, man, I wrote this and I did this, and if that's what he knows how to do, that's what he likes to do, I support it. I just might not cop the album, but I support the idea. I'll give it a listen.
Support from a distance, you know.
Yeah.
I get that
idea.
But I still won't hate on it. I won't ever say someone can't or shouldn't do that. I feel like if that's what they want to do, I mean, if it's trash, that's whatever.
That's true. I'm with you on that. You know, just, you know, people live their truths, live their lives, have fun with it. If it sucks, well, you know, it's gonna suck. But
yeah,
and I won't
some
listen
people
to
like it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just kind of a new concept to have like these hip hop artists. Like now, it's like, since it's still like in its infancy technically. Yeah. To have like rappers in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, and they're still making music. It's kind of a new idea. I mean,
it is. I mean, but the rock bands have been getting away with that first.
Exactly. I mean, they're like 70 years old. They're still touring. They're still you know, handling business. So I really don't think hip hop should be viewed any differently. Now, if the music will maintain, you know, its level of greatness, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's up for debate.
I think it's hard because it's always like, I've heard people call it like a young man's genre or like young man's game kind of thing, where like the zeitgeist, like the mainstream is always going to gear towards like these 20-year-olds or whatever, like that are coming up and making the waves. But I think like there's enough of us that have gotten older and still bump the old shit, or bump like, you know, like look at someone like E40, right?
Yeah.
E40 is still, he's still, you know, and he makes some slaps. Like I still, like, I went back to something recently. I was like, all right,
he just released something not too long ago, like I think last month or something.
I kind of like that Mob one that he did.
But I think what
it's it was like, you know, I was like, all right, that's cool.
I think with him though, what provides a longevity for his career is the fact that he's smart and he knows, and I'm not just saying that as a bias, you know, being from out here, but I think he knows what he's doing as far as like, let me tap into the young man's game, the young dudes coming up, and have them featured on this, or let me be featured on their stuff out of respect. And that's kind of what keeps him floating, because he stays relevant, but he's not putting himself out there. Like, I mean, once in a while, maybe every other year or maybe even 2 years, he'll release an album that's his. But like I said, he'll collaborate with a lot of artists that are relevant today. Yeah. Whether it's Bay Area based or just, you know, in the country, it doesn't matter. You know, he'll tap into that. which is smart. And I think that with Eminem, I think I've seen a couple of people they said he's collaborating with, which are all right, but it's, I feel like that's probably the smartest move if you want to, is to do that.
Yeah. There's not super recently, but during this new Eminem era, where he was kind of, I guess, dissing like newer artists and kind of putting his foot down and taking that stand that he didn't want to collaborate. He thought they were all terrible and all that stuff. Yeah. And then he kind of changed his tune a bit and started collaborating with more people. So I think he kind of learned his lesson there, that it's like, okay, you can't be that, arrogant and be like, I don't like none of that new stuff.
Exactly. And that was like, and that's kind of I had that wake up call like many years ago where I just felt like at a certain point, like nothing new was hitting for me. But at the same time, like it was like I had like a wake up, like, wait a minute, like all these artists that I fuck with though, like they still make music. And I'm like, oh shit, like I haven't heard the new Atmosphere record, or like, oh, let me go check for that. Like, like LP's still doing, oh, now he's with Run the Jewels, whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I listen to his old shit. It's like, and I'm like, oh, so like they're still doing new shit, but then not even that. It's like, yes, there's a lot of garbage in the mainstream, and there's just a lot of surface level. Like, you hear something that's like, oh yeah, listen to this, whatever, and like, I can't stand it, but there's still people that make like solid like like there's this one label I follow, Broken Complex. They're dope. I think they're based out of Southern California, and they got some dope artists there, and and it's like, hip hop has the subgenres. They got like the hip hop, they got the hip hop, kind of, and they got the trap, you got whatever, but like there's still, whatever your niche is, like there's still people making that style. So to completely discount it, like at a certain point I kind of was like, no, you can't, like you just haven't found that person yet, and I still, and also you got to broaden your horizons, because like we get kind of limited. Like I fuck with a lot of UK rappers, like really? One of my favorites like is Jest, this dude, Jehst. He's been coming out with some stuff, but like one of his albums is like one of my favorite hip hop albums, and like and then I'll even like listen to some shit that I don't understand, like some Japanese hip hop or like whatever. Like I'll go into like some DJ Crush and like listen, like
you're all over the world,
and I'm just like, oh, that shit sounds tight though.
Those are a world travel.
Epic High is a good, like I think they're Korean if I'm not mistaken.
But you understand, like, do you translate what they're saying, or you
I look, sometimes I'll look up the lyrics and be like, all right, that's cool. And other times it's like you feel the vibe and you're just like, all right, and you can hear lyrically like they're still connecting, on the rhythmic tip, so I mean, that's just all to say that like you can't, there's something out there for everybody, and there's never a point, I don't think, where like you truly are like nothing new will ever hit again. It's the same thing with movies, same thing with games. Like,
I think also when you discover, and this is kind of probably exactly what you're saying, just in different words, but when you discover, in my opinion, a new genre of music that I really didn't give a chance for in the beginning, for me personally, I've really wildly developed. I guess I've completely looked, and I haven't found too many underground things or stuff like that, and I don't know, sometimes I don't set aside the time to look into that. Even though everyone loves music and media and videos and whatnot, I don't really research a lot of stuff unless it's brought to my attention. I'm nobody important, but I don't really go out there searching and dabbling and stuff like that. But my music taste is right now is kind of morphed into what, like, I mean, there is eventually a lot of stuff that the guys are running out of rapping on, or ladies or whatever, and like it's the same stuff that's repeated over and over. And so I'm like, okay, I need a break from that. There's really not too much R&B going on right now.
Well,
somewhat, you just gotta look.
That's the thing, is you just gotta look. And to your point, it's like, I would argue that there is, not that I'm too into R&B, but it's like there's definitely a lot of soulful singers and stuff that's still putting in. It's just like, but the problem is that you do like music these days. Before like the internet and shit, it's like you would find tapes, you go to a music store, you find whatever.
Records
like I knew this dude I worked with back in the day at Nugget. It was like he would just go to like Amoeba and he would just like buy fucking like local artists and like, you know, buy whatever.
That's
and then he would be up on it, you know. And you know, he even like I was wearing one time, we were doing like a off work thing, and I was wearing like a I Love Underground hip hop shirt. And he's like, what kind of artist you? And he knew like whoever I was talking to. And I was like,
that's
all right.
crazy.
He told me the whole thing. And he was an older dude too. And I was like, that's cool, man. And but that's the thing, is like in this day and age where we're kind of getting overloaded on all fronts from like everything, you do have to kind of put effort.
Yeah.
Like it's either you listen to what you know.
Replay the same stuff you do listen to.
Listen to, and then it's like, and to your point, it's like, I love music and I'll never stop loving music. It's like one of my favorite things. But like, yeah, man, sometimes I might go days and just listening to podcasts.
I do that, or like I'll do like that's kind of what I was leaning on, or I was getting to eventually. Is like I've pivoted to like classical or like lo-fi or like house music, and just I've really tapped really into like the deep house and stuff, like just where it's just beats and you know, maybe here and there they'll drop, you know, like a little singing verse or whatever, or somebody will make a singing noise. But I've leaned more into that eventually, and that's from me being lazy and not really wanting to look. And I know if I really wanted to, I can take recommendations from you, and I have from you, and
even like just look up stuff. But
but
to your point, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing, right? Like I think there's a thing with like, I don't know, it feels this way. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if it's hip hop specifically or like, but it's like if I'm not keeping up with it, like, am I a hip hop head anymore? Like, you know what I mean? Like. It's like it's okay to like other genres of music. Like I fuck with classical heavy. I've been listening. I've been listening to house more recently. Like I found this cool YouTube channel called Flavor Trip, and it's cool. It's like a couple, and
they just produce it, or they just make mixes.
They make mixes, like
nice.
they DJ sets.
Love that, bro.
And their thing is like one of them, or like they kind of take turns like cooking a meal.
That's tight.
While the other one's DJing.
It's called
Flavor Trip.
I'm gonna look it up.
And it's good, man. I'll put it on in the background, and I'm like, you know, and then I'm here like, you know, and I'm just like, oh, this is like, I catch the vibe, you know, and like I like the synthwave stuff that's been coming out. You know, I like the lo-fi stuff, and you know, and the lo-fi stuff goes way back too. Like one of the pioneers, like, is like from the early 2000s, like Nujabes, a Japanese producer. Like a lot of people don't know that he did like work on the Samurai Champloo anime soundtrack. And it goes way back, but he's like really one of the pioneers when it comes to lo-fi, and like even Jay Dilla to a degree and stuff. Like, you know, that sound has been around, but you know, all these different genres and things that like they permeate through the sphere of music. And yeah, man, it's like my stance is like, you do you. It's like, you know, like I might have a kick where I don't listen to anything hip hop for like months on end.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of my biggest like groups right now that I really love for a long time actually is Thievery Corporation, and they do a lot of like, I would describe it as kind of lounge music in a good way, but like, you know, it's like a trip hop, but you got some, you know, kind of Jamaican style stuff too in there, influences. They do have some like hip hop crossover. Like there's this rapper Mr. Liff, who's dope, and he does a number of tracks with them. But like, you know, to your point, it's like the expansion is good, and you know, you'll find stuff as you find it, and if you don't, it's like, you know, as long as you're enjoying your shit, like, you know, like, I just can't get over, like, I just don't vibe with, like, when people just go out of their way to hate on shit and, like,
don't know anything about it. Just kind of just...
Yeah, or they make the statements like, yeah, there's no good music anymore. There's no good hip-hop anymore. There's no, like, everybody fell off. And it's like,
look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm guilty of that on various occasions, but you know, now I've admitted that, like, that's my bad.
I've been there too. That's the thing, is I had that where like, just, you know, my homies would show me stuff too, like, oh, like, you know, one of my good homies, Panda, shout out, he would show me like, hey, just check out this art, check, you know, and then I just don't really feel it, and it's like,
you're not into it,
but I'm not sitting there going like, yeah, you know. And
it's no good.
But you know, but I find what I like and I go in, you know. And
I mean, that's just what you got to do. I like I said, I mean, maybe eventually I'll get the urge to want to go branch out and look for some. But
yeah, sometimes you just even got to throw on like, Spotify's got like a DJ now. Like a AI DJ and like throw you stuff. You could even before that though. You could even go to a song and do like listen to this radio or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then
it'll
they
recommend
still
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pandora's still around. You probably get ads.
Barely holding on, huh?
I don't know, but I used to find some stuff from there too.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does. Anybody use Pandora anymore?
Yeah. No, I forgot where.
I remember they were the first to really come out the gate with that.
With that whole like branch out and find music kind of thing. Yeah, and and if you really dig in, whatever platform, if you dig in, you'll find stuff like like even if you listen to YouTube music, like you can, if you look up videos on artists, you'll start getting this recommendations. It's like
of things in the same genre.
Yeah, when it comes to like the whole algorithm business, it's like if you work it, you'll find new stuff that you're interested in.
No, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that was a good segue. Should we
absolutely
talk about the new stuff that we're interested in? All right. Well, we're back in the building.
It's been a year, but
it's been over a year. We got I think it's episode 4 here. Kept you waiting, huh? Shout out to the homie E1. Etienne. We're over here in Marin City.
Yep.
Studio, popping it off, getting things going. But yeah, we're here. We're just gonna pick up where we left off. So, what do you guys? We got Chains in the building. We got 3
I'm
Kings.
here.
I'm here. I'm present. We're good. It's been a minute. It's been a while, but we're excited to get back to it.
Everything has changed.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. It's official now that we got
studio. This is cool.
Setup here going.
Yeah, this is more feng shui in the dungeon, he says. But yeah, no, it's been a while, but we're excited to get back into it, and we're just gonna hit some more recent news.
Before that, maybe we open with like what we've been up to game wise. I know like you like at least when I've been playing with you guys, it's I know you guys been in the Rocket League heavy, and then Helldivers. I recently got in
Helldivers 2. That's the one right there. That's the one. Shout outs to Chains over here to my left.
Yes,
I got us into.
Well, really, I got to shout out Ezra across the table from me because he was the one who even really put it on.
Wait, hold up. So you recommended the game?
He didn't even have it.
I didn't even have it. I just because I knew I was just like, this is gonna be dope.
Because I heard it bubbling up, and then Ezra had said something. I was like, but I was like, because there's nothing out at that time. Well, still, in my opinion, there's really nothing major out.
Nothing crazy.
Well,
okay. Well, but we'll
I'll bring some. Later. We'll unpack that later. But back to our previous conversation about music, I think the same thing applies to games.
Yeah.
Like, there's always something. There's always something.
But and again, applying to music as well, you really got to search for that or get some good recommendations on that, and give a lot of these studios a chance to like put their game out there. I just wish it was more kind of put in your face in a way, because we all know that a lot of us are simple people where we're not going to go to the second page to look at something if you have it right there on the first
That's
page.
the problem. It's just like there's a lot of focus and energy, and we'll get into it, but like there's a lot of marketing budget, all this stuff focused on like a select few. And that's kind of that becomes the zeitgeist of like, oh, these are the games we're dealing with now. But they get a lot of sleeper hits, and I will say it's harder on the console side of things because you get like the stuff that's you get stuff late, aside from exclusives, which are dope, but like there's things that hit PC and then they're like, oh, this is crazy, but it's like early access, and it'll be in early access for like 2-3 years. So it's like
that long. Is there a limit to how long?
No, there's no limit. Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. So what have you been playing though recently?
Well, I've been going back and forth.
I know
Helldivers for sure with you guys. That's been fun. It honestly was, even though the hype was there and I kind of wanted to get into it, was kind of lukewarm for me in the beginning. But like the more I played it, the more it's been kind of growing on me, and I really see like it's a pretty cool cooperative experience. Like I was actually playing a little bit last night with some randoms, and like it was cool, you know, like there was a point we were just off mic, but like there was a point where you had to do like somebody had to turn the wheel for this tower, and then and then like I'm like on the screen and I'm like, oh shit, so like I unmuted and I was like, hey, go to the left, you know, and I was like, and I like as a person that likes PvE and more cooperative stuff, that I was like, all right, that's cool. I like stuff that makes you like, because that's the thing is like I get so bored with like Call of Duty and shit. It's like at a certain point we're all just running around trying to get our kills and we're not really like working together.
Yeah, and you mentioned that in the previous episode. I can't remember what episode. I guess it was when we talked about the games.
Yeah, that might have been
the franchises or whatever. And I know you mentioned like, it gets kind of not redundant. Well, kind of redundant where it's just like, it's kill, kill, kill. You know, there's no really objective. And if there is, it's kind of like search and destroy, where it's just like people were really just killing each other. They're not really planting, or for the most part.
Right. And it depends how you play it, because it's like all what you make of it, you know? Like, you know, I was playing this game, Veil. It was like my go-to VR shooter. And, you know, and sometimes you do just want the kill. And you just like, sometimes you're just like, I just want to like kill whatever and just chill with the homies, whatever. Yeah. And sometimes you just do that, like, you know, off mic or whatever. And so I'm playing the other day, you know, and I'm just, and that's all I'm doing. It's like, I'm just killing. It's like, we're not really coordinated, but it's also, we've been doing nothing but team deathmatch at that point. Yeah. So it was like, I didn't feel the need to be like, all right, I got this or whatever. And then like we get in after the match, we get into the lobby. You guys like, oh, you guys are just baiting each other the whole match. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, and that's so like what I assume what he meant by that is like that we let the one person go and then you know, and I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But like,
I didn't know there was a term for it.
Yeah, you know, I was just like,
I had no idea.
And it's hard because with that community, there's a good amount of it that's competitive. So they'll get into the whole like there's teams. I've gone up against like people that are on teams.
That's like Rainbow Six Siege, kind of.
Yeah, it's like that level, and you know, but like so they're playing all tactically coordinated. All right, you know, like we're on B, like B side long, whatever, you know. Yeah. And then like, but I'm just there, no mic, and then there. But then what I hate is just that energy of like, oh, you guys are just baiting the whole match, like da-da-da. It's like take that Call of Duty energy, because like you know, because then the people are like, oh yeah, you guys suck, da-da-da. You know. But anyways. That's why I like Battlefield over Call of Duty. Most of it's like play PTFO, play the fucking objective. It's like when you're working towards something together.
A lot of acronyms at us here.
And I think that's why Helldivers. I was kind of feeling like, all right, we're just killing a bunch of bugs. But then when I got the little objectives like that, I was like, okay, this is cool.
Because like, not to interrupt, but Chains, he is very objective based in Helldivers 2, which I appreciate. Because like, because I will go completely off the rails and just sit there and just mow them down constantly on the hardest difficulty, and then just keep dying, and then it's game over and you get what you get. But, you know, for him, it's like we'll chug along and we'll be, you know, halfway through the map getting swarmed. And then I'm like, you know, where's Chains at? And he's halfway down the map looking for the rare samples, which the super rare samples and stuff. But there are little objectives throughout the game. And
the bug nests.
Like, and maybe later I'll talk a little bit more on, like, in my opinion, which doesn't matter really. No, but my take on what some small things that they can do to change it to kind of make it even more fun, and objective based.
Anything on Helldivers, Chains, or like or anything else you've been playing too?
Nothing.
That's kind of been it. I mean, it's just I'm trying to think back because I think from the last podcast.
Oh, which one?
Now I think that's a long.
I think we also were tapped into the finals that game, and it kind of came and went.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it went, but I mean, I would jump back into it. It's just
it's lived the life cycle for us, at least to my knowledge. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I mean, no doubt it's probably still going on, but like.
But once you've missed that train, once you've stopped, then it's just rough after that. Like I think a while back I tried to dive into Apex again. Oh man.
Yeah.
And were you there?
I think I did too at some point, and I was like, you know what? I'm just called there. You got a swift delete.
That's how I feel with Siege. Match. Like I tried a free weekend or something, and I was like Rainbow Six Siege. I would like to because I like that kind of style of gameplay where like it's very fluid. It's like you could break walls and you can shoot through holes, and like I like that. and I definitely like it in VR.
Yeah.
Like there's this one called Breachers, which is pretty cool. I don't play it too much, but it's basically the same thing, and you can like rappel on the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
I like it, but like, yeah, it's hard. It's like when you go up against people that have been at it,
tactical.
and they know the maps inside out, and you're just like,
that's the worst.
Yeah,
Because then they'll slide the camera under the door, do all this. I played Rainbow Six Siege. Ooh, that was like a year ago when they did it free. Or
yeah, it was like a
when they
weekend
did
or
it
something.
Free.
Yeah.
And I tried it then, and I liked it, but you really need a good team to play that game.
Yeah.
As far as like, you guys need to be cooperative and
Right.
know the objective and just pay attention, really.
Yeah.
And if you have people going off the rails like myself and just trying to get kills, it's kind of weird, and it doesn't work for sure. But I'm sorry, Chains, I totally interrupted what you were saying. Besides the finals, anything else, like any indie things?
I think also not for me personally. I was going to mention that also in that time period where we disappeared. Podcast world-wise.
We got caught in the Bermuda Triangle.
We did the X-Defiant beta, and now it actually recently just officially came out.
Yes.
For free.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Downloaded it. Yeah, because I've heard a lot of hype on that.
We played it. Yeah. It was
Wait,
that
was
one.
that the one where
it's like kind of like Black Ops, but
there's a shield. The lady was with the shield. I think I took a clip.
It has. Yeah, I think you do. It's Ubisoft, so it has like it's got the cleaners from
Okay, yes.
Division
I actually, so that's that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get them all kind of mixed together.
It's hard.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look at that again because I honestly like that.
Yeah, I'd be down to give it a try again. Because I mean, it was cool for what it was, and I was like, all right, this gameplay loop's cool. Like, for that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm curious, like, in terms of like how the weapons feel differently from each other. Because I like to experiment. Sometimes I'll go with like a DMR, and I'm going semi-auto. I like sometimes I want to run and gun with the pistol.
Yeah.
And like the abilities and stuff, like that's all cool. Like then going invisible versus like getting the flamethrower or whatever. I
like when they put the whole world from the Division in there. That was pretty cool. I like that. I really like the Division. Yeah, the maps, the characters, and I thought that was pretty cool because you could pick the cleaners as a group, right?
Yeah. And then you had the Splinter Cell group. You had I think you even had DedSec, which is the Watch Dogs group, and then the Far Cry group.
That was sick. I thought that was pretty cool.
It was a pretty unique. Like I like what they did there. I think it's like, you got all these IPs under you. You might as well try to make some. We don't get enough of that. I think like the kind of variety.
An ensemble cast in a video game.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I think that a lot. They should try to do this with some other games. That'd be kind of cool.
What's one? We're going off the rails here, but what's one that also just kind of like we played before, but just relaunched. I think you changed my know. But Multiverses.
Oh no!
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I was wondering if we were gonna.
They went back to the drawing board and they actually just re-released it.
Why'd they do that? Though? Was it that bad?
I wouldn't follow it too closely. It was cool for what it was. But they added a bunch of new characters, and I don't know if they were.
Push, huh?
Yeah, they were trying to do something, and then they kind of pulled like a. A number of games have done that where they go like, all right, no, we're gonna here's version 2.0 or whatever. This is the official. So that came out. I think just like this week or
it did. It was all over the news. I saw it at least on some. It was on social media. I saw that, and then the X-Defiant, and then I was told in person that X-Defiant was the next one. Is what they were saying.
You've been playing it since it came out?
No, I haven't even downloaded it. I just kind of remember the beta, and then I've been hearing it, and it got released, and then people. From at least from what I've seen on Twitter, it's kind of a pretty big split on like people who are having a great time and really enjoying it, and people who are kind of just sick of it and kind of over it completely and think it's a joke that like Call of Duty killer and this and that.
That's what somebody else said.
Yeah, it's a pretty big split on people.
People were banking on that because a lot of people are so fed up with Call of Duty.
They're exhausted.
Yeah, like there's this one guy I follow who does like all the weapon breakdowns with the recoil and like all the
for Call of Duty
X something
for Call of Duty.
Yeah, he does like videos for that, and he was actually covering X-Defiant pretty closely because he had hopes because like for his personal view is like, even though he continues to cover Call of Duty, that it's like not the same for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like everything is kind of split nowadays. It's like there's people that they just want to play the old school shit. They just want to play the new school shit. People like, even Modern Warfare 2 versus 3 remake, or old Modern Warfares versus new Modern Warfares, Black Ops, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think the gaming landscape has become a lot more divisive, and people are a lot more opinionated. But what gets me is that like people get these stances without even trying it,
Yeah,
like they just like everybody's shitting on this game,
So
for instance Arkham Knights,
that the new Batman thing?
Everybody shat on that, and that was a co-op one, and it's like, where somebody could be Red Hood and Batgirl or
That's
whatever,
so dope. I like that.
and it seemed cool, but like, and of course, like, you do kind of take reviews and like general consensus to kind of
formulate a slight opinion
to
on
formulate a slight, like, oh well, it might be like this, and that's why you, as a consumer, like, you follow certain people, because you're like, all right, they generally vibe with what I like, right?
They've never led me astray on some of these.
But like, there's a good channel I follow, the Co-op Bros, actually a Patreon for them. They cover co-op games, and they really liked Arkham Knights, and I really value their opinion. So like, kind of made me more like, all right, well, you know what, I'd be down to give it a try. And similar thing happened with that Suicide Squad game. Like, I didn't
even hear about that.
It really came and went. But like,
it's been a disaster.
It was a disaster. Like, there's no way around the fact that it was a disaster. Like, sales wise, financially, and just general like gamer perception. But my stance is like, but if you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. Nobody's gonna pull you from enjoying a game that you.
No, people will. That's the internet, though.
Yeah,
that's
like
Don't look at the
internet.
I see the comments. Yeah, I've been seeing it. It's more lately. Like, people I'll follow, like, they'll say something. Like, there was somebody who will get into like the state of play thing.
Yeah,
it was largely hated. This recent state of play, like, I thought it was all right. Nothing special, but like, a couple like, oh, that's cool, but like, overall, it was kind of like warm.
State of Play, right?
Yeah. Well, they came out this week.
You said lukewarm?
Yeah.
That's coming from you or from other people?
No. Well, yeah, kind of me, but like, but here's like what people get misconstrued, though, is like, these state of plays were never like, it's not like the E3 showcase. These are things that they do every few months, every couple of months. They do a state of play. Here's some highlights on games,
what's
upcoming.
Out and what.
It's not necessarily like, this is everything. This is PlayStation. Like,
for the next 5 years.
Yeah, but people take it as such and like, oh, Sony's done, whatever, And then like,
mid is what I heard from you.
Well, because that's lack of a better term, but like, that's why I said cromulent. It's the same thing. But anyways, there was one YouTuber I follow, and he's more of an Xbox guy, but he actually came off kind of positive from it.
No way.
And people were shitting on him in the comments, like, "Oh, you've changed." Da, da, da. And it's like, but then thankfully there's some people in there going like, "Dude, like, it's his opinion."
Yeah.
Like, why would you follow someone if they're only gonna speak your truth 100% of the time? Like, don't you want to kind of like, and this is why we have these discussions, like, I don't expect you guys to mirror my opinion 100%. I like that perspective, going like, oh, really? You don't like this? Or I like,
I think
like,
I probably can stand there for some of the ones that are like, you got to speak my truth only. And I'm ashamed to say that, but it's the truth. I find myself doing that most times. And it's not, I've slowly tried to come away from that because it is unrealistic and it's not okay, because you're so used to them catering to just your truth, and then it's like the minute they, like you just mentioned, they speak something else, it's like, oh man, burn the house down. Like, this is
and it's not just games. I don't want to get off topic here, but like, there's studies that have been done, on social media specifically. It was more of a focus on politics, but like, it's the same thing. Like, you get into a bubble, and then you get fed those kind of opinions. So then it's like, when you get the clashing opinion, it hits you even stronger, because you've been getting nothing but like these people that you agree with, and then you get this one that like goes off the rails, and you're like, oh, what the hell? And so I think we've been kind of engineered in a way to have more aversion to differing opinions. That kind of sucks.
It does,
yeah.
but I like to rely on people to, whether it be some type of YouTuber or whatnot, to give me the review of it, and we all subscribe to these channels that show us, you know, the review of or their opinion on it, and we trust their opinion on it. And so when I see one from somebody I like on a game, I mean, I take it in, but I also take a lot of what the homies say. You know what I mean? If they're on it, obviously it's hot because we've been playing for a very long time with each other, and it's just like we play the same games. We kind of have the same taste to an extent. But I trust your guys' opinion more than anybody else's opinion. So it's like when Chains mentioned Helldivers, I know you mentioned it too, but when he was like, oh, you know, him and
that was what solidified it for me, because I was kind of on the wait and see, but you guys going in on it, I was like, all right.
Yeah, because he was like, hey, man, you guys are going to like, you can get down on this. And I was like, okay, cool. So we'll do that on Helldivers, which I haven't looked back on. I mean, I think it's great. It plays well. I have fun with it, and I even don't mind it being. I mean, I know like we get on later at night, and of course people got to wake up super duper early. Just myself, but it is fun, even though the missions are longer. To me personally, that makes it that much better because
you're engaged more
versus
intently.
I mean, I could play 5 matches of Rocket League competitive if I wanted to, that same amount of time. But honestly, I think with the whole and that's why I was upset that I should really give what is the one the one in space
Starfield
a chance and play it, because I was in.
It's better now. There've been a lot of updates, you know, like it was very lukewarm, and I stopped playing it because it was just like but they've been making a lot of updates for it, you know, and that's kind of just a sad state of things, but you know,
and I really enjoy that whole like what is it,
space exploration,
my goodness, like that's why I like Dead Space. Like that was fun. Oh my goodness! And I'm waiting on them.
Did you play the remake? Did you guys? I know you did.
I played the original.
What's the other one that was?
I did the Callisto Protocol.
Yeah, and that was dope.
I actually really enjoyed that game.
And that's a good example because you really enjoyed it and you spoke really highly of it. And most of the people that I followed were kind of like
called it mid.
Yeah, basically.
And I was like, see, and just to kind of get back into that, for me, as far as like following opinions on games and following channels or whoever, I kind of stopped doing that after I've been burned too many times on just different opinions. So for me, even just buying a game or playing a game, unless it's free, it's just that the entry fee is already kind of dissuades me personally. Whether even, I mean, now $40 is kind of a rarity for a lot of, you know, popular games, and now you're getting to like $70 where it's like that's the norm, and it's like, oh man. And then for me, it's like, sure, I could go general consensus if a game's really popular, like Helldivers 2. It's almost, and because it was at a $40 price point, it's like, okay, it's kind of a safer bet. It's really popular. Okay, I probably won't get burned, but it's always that chance of like, I might just not like it.
Exactly.
For me, a couple big ones that I've been burned on was
I gotta hear this.
You gotta, I mean, years ago, I don't know when it came out, but the Outer Worlds, which was
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah,
and it's
by
funny.
Obsidian.
Yeah,
which at least to my knowledge at that time, I don't know if it's still the case, like the critical consensus and even the, you know, gamers consensus was that it was good, it was solid. You know, it was because Obsidian did one of my favorite games, Fallout New Vegas. So I was like, of course, you know, I got to at least try it out. So paid the full price, and for me personally, that game is an absolute snooze fest. I couldn't even get through like 25%. I'm like, this game's gonna put me to sleep. And it's like, man, I will never get that money back. And I've tried to go back like 3 different times, and still it's like, no, this game's just not good to me.
Right.
I'll say that.
Right.
Another one, more popular one, is Elden Ring.
Okay.
Which I got a little further consistently, but it's like something about getting to that halfway point. I'm like, man, I just don't have it in me to continue this. It's like,
I feel you.
it's a strong start for me, but it's like, man, I cannot bring myself.
I haven't touched it, like, barely. Like, I did the opening maybe like 10 hours.
Yeah.
I was looking for this glintstone to get into the college or whatever, and I was stuck on that, and then I dropped it. Have not touched it back.
It's like a hard drop for me. It's like, yeah, man, I'm tired.
And that's the thing, is like sometimes it's like,
and people love that game.
It's like regarded as one of the best games of all time. Like, it's really loved. And like, for me, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just like, sometimes it's right time, right place. And some, especially with these open world games, it's like, do I really need like 200-hour game, like, where I can really, but also it's like, I just feel like it didn't have the best. I mean, to be fair, I'm coming in with a limited perspective because I only did the first couple bosses.
Yeah.
I'm only in there somewhat, but like, I beat the grafted dude, and then I went on, but like, the combat is more like the older, like the Dark Souls and Demon Souls games, which is cool, and it's got its flow. But when you play like Bloodborne or Sekiro especially, the combat in that is just so much more fluid, and it's so much more up my alley. Like, I stand by, I think Sekiro and Bloodborne are like the best Souls games, or even not even just From Software ones, but even other people like that have tried to make Souls likes. I think Sekiro and Bloodborne are like two of the best, and they have more of like an aggressive, fluid combat style. Sekiro especially, and so when I went to Elden Ring and I felt the more stiff nature of it. I was kind of like, I don't know
about this one.
Yeah, and then like, their games also, they can. I'm surprised it did as well as it did, because their games are very narratively like they're deep, but the way they're presented to you is very thin. Like, you have to really, to understand what's going on,
you gotta read stuff.
You gotta read and read and read, and then even after you read all that, you might have read something 30 hours ago that like connects with something you just found, and you're like, wait, what is this?
Wait, hold on, I gotta go back.
You gotta watch, like, shout out to Vatividia. He does like video breakdowns on the lore on all these games, and it's like,
that's crazy.
You watch something like that, then you're like, oh shit, that's crazy, but
you're not gonna kind of pick it up in the game.
I mean, a lot of people did apparently, but like,
I'm just not that. I'm just like, I got blinders on, man. I'm just playing to have fun, and of course that's kind of why I've leaned obviously more to the multiplayer online aspect versus.
Right.
I find it hard for me personally. The only game I've ever and will ever continue to play kind of like by myself offline just is Skyrim, of course.
And you should.
I respect that.
Yeah, and I need to do more of that. I know, and I need to do more videos on that.
It's interesting because that game definitely holds a special place in your heart. I know that for a fact. Absolutely. And it's funny because I've tried to get into that game at least 10 different times through different stages of my life. Can never complete it.
That's crazy because they're, every year every year you go back, probably right around October, September, people go back and they'll dive.
There's something to that because I think the weather and like the landscape.
Yeah.
But have you beaten like the main story?
I've come very close to beating it. I've started multiple characters.
Right.
And I think that's the best part of the game is if you beat it, that kind of. I don't know. For me personally, once you've completed,
it's more the experience.
Move on to the next though.
Right.
Like we're done here. That's it. Like I'm not a big like play 5 times guy.
Yeah.
So like I'll play one solid run through it, and then it's like going back to it. I don't know. Maybe not. But this way, I've split it up into multiple characters, and I just run that and see which different path I'm going to take with that because they have different stories, you can go.
Right. And and that's something that I've been leaning on to, similar to Change though. Like I've probably started a new game probably a dozen times or like at least like
Can't
5.
Get into it.
5 or no, I do get into it.
Yeah.
But I only get to a certain level. And then I'm just like I'll do certain things. Like I did the whole Thieves Guild and I did the whole, I think most, if not all of the Dark Brotherhood. And like, those are really dope. But yeah, like I didn't complete the main game.
I did the Blades.
Never.
That one was fun.
Nice. And that's the thing. There's so many like,
guilds
and then like if you, from a role playing perspective, it's like, yeah, you can really get into it. And something you guys really got to try is the VR version. But you have to do the PC VR version because then you get the mods on there. Because let me just say, Bethesda VR games are like trash. They're like the worst like adaptations of the games like ever.
Really?
Like it's like as a VR game, they're like the worst games. But like you got to throw in the mods, like just for the basic things, the way you interact with the items, the menus, like just stuff that's like quality of life. You need mods for that.
Yeah.
And but especially because I told you guys too, like you got the Chat GPT mod now.
Oh, geez,
you can just talk to NPCs and they respond on the spot.
That's creepy.
And I don't know if you guys seen the latest version of Chat GPT.
No.
But it basically has personality now.
Oh, I did see that.
Like
Actually,
it'll like laugh and like
That's
can
creepy.
sing. It like it's crazy. So it's like you throw that. I don't know if it'll pull from that. But like yeah, it's crazy because you can like I started like there's a mod that also allows you to pick your starting, so you don't have to start in the cart like as a prisoner.
Oh wow!
You pick like where you want to be and what your story is.
That's dope.
And so I picked one where I was like I was in a prison, I was a thief or whatever, and so I like started in a prison, and then the prison guard's just walking around. I'm like, shit, how do I get out of here? So I started, like, hey, can you let me out? He's like, I don't have the authority to do that. You know, you'll have to check with the Jarl and da 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 da.
Oh jeez.
And I was just like, damn, I didn't expect him to like get into it though. And it's like you can break it. You push it to a certain limit. It's like, yeah, he doesn't actually go check with the Jarl.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty engaging just to be like, yeah, how's the weather?
That injects more into the game, you know, and makes it the way it is. But you definitely have a big following on that, even though it's came out X amount of years.
Yeah.
You know, you still got a lot of people, and like I joke but dead serious around the time, whether it's the weather, whatever links up, I know I go back and revisit it, and I have the saved time and date stamped on it, obviously. But I enjoy it, and I have, I think, 2 characters out right now, but I couldn't even gauge how far along I am. I know I bought Game of the Year edition though, and that was like 2 years ago, and that added more to it, and that even is just so much.
Yeah.
But I love that game, and that's why I'm so excited for the future and for them.
The new Elder Scrolls and like out, And what's dope is because you know that like with a lot of these games, they like the community keeps them alive. Like, what's dope on PC is like I don't know if it's completed yet, but there's a mod for Skyrim where you can play the full game of Oblivion, but in Skyrim. So basically, you get the updated mechanics and stuff. And like it works. So you're like playing. You get the quality of life, like the improvements that they made in Skyrim, but you're playing Oblivion. I've
never played Oblivion all the way through.
I only rented it and just did like an initial, I think a day or two, and then I returned it. I always wanted to because a lot of people that's their favorite.
And that's what's crazy is that's their favorite. And what other series? There was another series I think where it was their favorite. I think it was Fallout. I'm sorry, it was Fallout New Vegas.
New Vegas is like
New Vegas.
It's one of my favorite.
Everyone
games.
loved. No, everyone.
Yeah, I remember Chano was really into it, right?
Yeah,
because I remember going over one time, and
I wanted to say he said.
He said 3 was better.
Yeah, New Vegas was no.
He actually didn't like.
Oh, he didn't. Was it Joaquin then that likes?
Joaquin might like New Vegas.
One of you guys. Well, I remember at the very least, I was over many years ago, and you guys had me play. Like we were on a boat or something, and then you were like, "Yeah, just try this or whatever."
That was probably him then.
And then I think it was Chano, and then I ended up having to shoot out or something.
That's crazy, dude. You remember that?
Pretty sure it was New Vegas.
But little sidebar on that, actually, I've heard from a couple people that the show is actually pretty good.
I haven't seen.
I heard the show is pretty
Fallout
good.
show.
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah, my boss kept telling me to watch it. Like, you got to watch it. And like he'd ask me, and I'll say something like the smooth skin thing. And he'd be like, oh yeah, they said that in the show, and I'm like,
wait, has he played the game?
He has, but it's been a long time.
Oh, okay.
So
that's like with me with Last of Us. Like it's been so long since I played it that like when I watched it on the airplane, I watched like most of the season, and I was like lost. I'm not gonna lie, and I was like, oh yeah, you definitely got to go back and play before you watch. In my opinion,
that's
the only way to do it.
I agree because the thing is like it's gonna be I think it's a solid show on its own, and probably similar to Fallout and like similar to these other franchises, even like Castlevania and stuff. But it's but if you have played those games, you know the story, and you have them more fresh in your memory, you do get a lot more from it. Like I hear there's a lot of Easter eggs and like callbacks.
That's what I heard too
in Fallout,
and that's why I would do myself, no justice in going in like that without playing. With the Fallout TV show, is it just where is it following? Where is it followed from?
I think it's. I don't think it's
sure.
like directly. I forgot. I looked it up once. I can't. Don't quote me on this. But I think it's like in between certain timelines or something. It's not like a directly link, but yeah, there are some, I guess, things that are interconnected and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For me, again, I can't speak too much on the Fallout TV show because I haven't watched it fully yet. I know when the trailer came out, I kind of had been set in my ways about it, and I kind of already knew how I felt about it. And which the trailer for it, again, not speaking on the show itself, but the trailer for it grossed me out, and I was like,
I like the word of gross.
Yeah, I just thought it looked terrible,
disgusting.
and for me, this is also the case with a lot of video game adaptations to real life.
Yeah.
I just think it always ends up looking like really bad cosplay. And that's what I really felt with the Fallout is when I seen the power armor and the ghouls. I was like,
the ghouls part was.
We kind of I think it was last episode when we talked about the Last of Us one before we watched it.
Oh, that's
we kind of touched on that too, where it's like it's hard to separate because it's like
always seems like a skit to me. Like it's
it's like because no. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way, myself included, because it's like, and that's how I'm probably going to feel whenever eventually the Metal Gear movie comes out. Because, like,
you're gonna
even though Oscar Isaac's, like, dope.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually can probably pull it off as far as, like, looking like Snake.
Yeah.
But it's like, let's say he gets recast or someone else, or maybe he doesn't do the voice right.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to, and this is what I said last time, too, like, my stance on the Cowboy Bebop live action show is, like, I liked it because I went in going like, yeah, it's different. It's not a 1-to-1 remake. It's separate. Like, people are going to look different. They're going to say different things. And I like it for what it is. But, like, I think when you're so, like, tied to a certain franchise or a game, and it's hard not to make the comparisons. And it's kind of hard not to be like, oh, well, this was still better. Like especially like even just on the look, like for instance Joel and Ellie, like I like how they look better in the game, but that's also like that's where I saw it first, so there's a bias, and it's like I don't know if you felt like that because I know you liked the Resident Evil show, but like
I did,
for instance, like with certain people kind of looking like, oh, is that Wesker? Is that like
to me personally, I looked at that and although of course I want to be particular. Like yourself, where it's just like, I've hit that first. I've played that first. That was around before the show, obviously, way back when. And I have that thought in my head. I have that look and everything in my head to where it looks a certain way. So anything else following that,
it doesn't.
It's like, this ain't original.
Like you said, it's like a cosplay.
Yeah, it's like a bad cosplay.
A skit. Yeah, it's hard to like get over that.
Yeah,
it's like a suspension of disbelief thing. You have to just be like.
Yeah, just put that to bed. And that's kind of what I did was like, I realized, hey, look, it's not going to be identical. It's not going to be the same. For me personally, if the story stayed the same or somewhat close to what it actually is, and they're not just rewriting something they want and they see fit and they haven't even played the games.
Right.
If the whole thing was the same and some of the characters looked a little different than what they did in the video game, I would not be upset. And that's kind of what happened with the Resident Evil TV show that they canceled. Was that although the characters were wildly different, I didn't even see somebody that was close to looking like how they
their
described
original.
It.
Yeah.
I think how it was written, somebody somewhere played a little bit of the games to kind of keep it within that realm. And of course, some of the stuff everyone's like, oh, well, did that really happen? And of course, some of the stuff didn't happen. Right. The whole twin situation or them being related or whatever. But I enjoyed it. I really did. And as long as they keep them somewhat close, but the story like on point, I don't mind it. And that's kind of why when I watched The Last of Us, I remember some of the stuff was coming back to me. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I do remember this. Yeah. But then again, I don't remember how it was set up. There
were, I would say that's probably one of the most faithful adaptations.
Yeah.
Like they expanded upon certain things. Like they gave more backstory.
Yeah.
To like Bill's character, for instance, or like even to the Outbreak.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it was pretty much like 1-to-1 faithful. And And yeah, I'm kind of in the middle on it because part of me wants that 1-to-1. Like I would have liked a 1-to-1 Cowboy Bebop where it was a lot more faithful, but at the same time, it's like at a certain point, it's like, I mean, why don't you just watch the original?
True.
You know, or like, because especially with video games now that they're so cinematic and a lot of these games that we follow, it's like you can watch a YouTube of just the cutscenes or just the story. And it's like that's probably going to be better.
It's kind of where we're at now in the world, where it's already
done,
cut up to where you just put it on and play the whole thing through, and you're like, all right, cool, I got all the highlights of it. It's like Spark Notes, but for a video game or TV show or something. And they got a lot of those channels out there too. And I feel bad because I do want to watch the entire show through. Yeah. Sometimes I don't have the time to do that, and so I kind of cheat a little bit and go and do that and find the highlight where they'll cram them together.
Yeah. Or I'll look at the wiki or something. And just be like, okay, this is what happened. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's very hard because like sometimes I want that faithful thing. Like I'm getting that with like the Final Fantasy remakes. Like,
oh really?
You know, it's like it's cool to see where it's like, oh yeah, this is just like it was. But then like I also find myself going like, oh, this is pretty cool and new. Like this is, you know. But there's also some elements where like, yeah, you know, it's tough. You're
big Final Fantasy.
I'm big on Final Fantasy, but like I know I bring it up every time, but like, yeah, it's hard because at the same time, it's like if you don't take the risk, and if every remake is just 1-to-1, it's kind of boring, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
It's hard though. It's hard because like sometimes that's what you want.
Yeah.
I get that.
Any remakes you're looking forward to, James? Anything coming out?
Not really. Well,
or just anything.
To touch on that, I mean, because I did watch The Last of Us TV show. I don't think I've finished it. I think I got maybe 1 or 2 episodes shy before the ending. Yeah. So I might just go and watch the ending of it just so I can get it all done with. But for me, I do agree with what you said that for the most part, I don't think a 1-to-1 shot remake of a video game would ever really work because video games just weren't intended to be built like that. And it's like if they did, it probably wouldn't really make any sense as a TV show, I'll be honest.
It just hits different. Like when you're having a conversation with Ellie and you're like there and you're walking with her, it's like that hits different from just watching them talk.
Exactly. So I feel like it's always just going to be a different experience, which I'm okay with. And for me, though, I think I'm always just going to prefer a video game version to a TV show. And I feel like for me personally, I don't know, I haven't watched it yet, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the Fallout show is going to end up in that realm where it's like,
so?
I think I would rather just play the video game again. Just go back than watch something.
I mean, because I think, they're it's someone else's vision of it, obviously, and like he said, you can't really. They weren't built for that, and I think for us, you know, it was always a dream. Anybody that plays video games wants to see that adaptation into. I always wanted to see it into a movie, you know, Metal Gear Solid into a movie or something. But for me personally, if they can get out a solid, even cartoon or something of it, I'd be cool with that. Because I know they did a couple Resident Evil ones on Netflix, and those were nice. Because I feel like they could do a little bit more with that versus with a live action one.
And it can be more faithful in the aesthetic department. Like you see Leon, he looks the same exact as the game, but like, but yeah, it's tough though because like to your point, Chains, with like with the Last of Us thing, it's like games are designed as interactive experiences, and more they're allowing you to be interactive in the story department. Especially even something like Metal Gear Solid, there's a lot of points where they kind of break the fourth wall, and they're kind of like talking to you directly. Like in Metal Gear Solid 2, there's a point where they literally like turn off the game console. And it's like, how do you replicate that in a show? Like you kind of can without looking too cheesy. And there's a certain magic that you get. I think you build a stronger attachment when you're playing the game because you're like, I'm Joel. I struggled through this. And so the decisions feel a lot heavier. But when you're watching it, there's a little bit of that disconnect. And more than anything, I think like I really like what The Last of Us did. But more than anything, I want all these adaptations to just encourage people to look more at video games. Like maybe people that don't play video games or don't
I've heard a lot of people have been doing that though since the release of Last of Us and then now with Fallout.
I mean, they even had Witcher that popped off, and
but Homeboy's not doing it no more. Henry Cavill's not.
Yeah, well, there's still, but the show's still going on. Yeah,
but why they do? I mean, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was some contractual stuff.
Because I heard that it was really good, or not really good, but I heard it was pretty good, and it was pretty.
No, I liked it.
What?
I mean, they did some things different, but like. I liked it.
For the most part, though,
and it's for the most part, like there's a lot of stuff there, and there's a lot of elements that are like, oh yeah, like that's what they do, or certain like just lore things that you're like, all right, yeah, that's cool.
Do you appreciate just the lore things, or you gotta see, like they gotta really stick to it? Like if they just did kind of more lore things than the actual story, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of think I would like that. No, I kind of think I would like that more. Like, even though I think The Last of Us was a really, really good adaptation and it really served the story well, and I'm looking forward to part 2 or season 2. I still think I stand by my previous opinion in that, like, I kind of would just prefer a new story in that universe. Like,
that'd be cool.
The in-between time, like there's that 20-year gap from the breakout to the game. It's like, well, what about those 20 years when they're like drug smuggling and doing all these things, and like Tess and Joel's relationship? Like, I really wanted to see that.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of for the video game adaptations, I think that's kind of what I want more than anything. Is like, don't give me the story I know, like explore the universe.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Fallout's doing.
I believe
so it might be cool.
I like that idea too, because I know that they've tried to do that, and I keep talking about it, but like with the Resident Evil movies, they did that they tried to do that with some of the movies early on, because they're like, oh, this is what happened at the mansion before or whatever, and they went back, or I might be getting confused. It might have been the games, like when they did 0 before 1, and then just kind of going back and telling in that same universe what's going on for the characters before they met up and stuff like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. I know I did read the books. I think I mentioned that already a while back, and that's cool because that kind of fills in the gaps a lot.
Yeah, and they do that with Star Wars too. There's a shit ton of books.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because somebody whipped out years ago. Somebody, a buddy of mine, was heavy into it, and he whipped out the list, and I'm like, dude, that's like 30 books.
Yeah.
And he's like, all these books in that same universe, and they explore everything else. And you're right. I think it would actually, for the adaptations, it would do much better if they were like, hey, look, remember when so-and-so showed up and his arm was bloody? It's like, what happened before that? What was he on? What was he doing? Where was he at?
Yeah.
I get curious like that too, and I'm like, I would love that.
And that's why I do like the Star Wars games for what they've done, even though I haven't really played like the Jedi one, the Survivor, or the more recent ones.
Knights of the Old Republic, shout out.
Yeah. I like for instance,
which one?
Is it the Force Unleashed?
The Force Awakens?
Unleashed,
Unleashed.
Where you played Starkiller, like Darth Vader's apprentice.
Yeah.
I thought that was dope. Like, I never beat it, but like, I thought that shit was dope. And like, and I think just like, that's the inverse. It's like, okay, here's the movie thing, but when you adapt it to a game, give me a new story. Don't let me just like,
it just all.
But to a degree, like, because like with Batman, it's like, it's gonna follow the comics to a degree. Like, there are arcs.
But that's kind of like what they're doing with the Joker stuff. And I know we're on video games, but that's kind of what I feel like they're doing with the Joker's story.
Yeah.
With the movies, is that I don't read comics. I don't read them too much, and I don't know his history too much. But I like the whole Harley Quinn and him meeting up the way they did, and they've kind of done a new spin on it in that universe. And it's like, hey, but this is kind of what we think happened, and I don't know. He's so much.
From what I understand, because I've only got a surface level of the comics. Like I've maybe read like one, or I don't know. It's just like, but I've looked into, and I like a lot of the lore and stuff. But from what I understand, the Joker's kind of one of those characters where his backstory has changed so many times. Like there's so many takes on his backstory. So I think that's cool how they do that. But yeah, I mean, I guess more often than not, what I'm getting at is like, I want something new, even if it's like with an old coat of paint or like an old body. Like, give me the new paint or give me the new thing.
Be careful with the scuff marks. No, I'm just playing.
And that's kind of what I want from like.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. See, when I got into Metal Gear Solid 3, because that remake's coming out, I think, this year.
There we go. The perfect segue. Did they say anything at all about that in the state of play?
No, but it was at the last state of play. I think,
when you sent me that trailer, yeah, that was it right there.
It was hitting, man. It was hitting, and I just hope that like there are certain things with like I love Metal Gear Solid is my favorite franchise ever, and like I love Kojima games in general. But you know, sometimes when it comes to the storytelling, there's a little, like he overextends, like he overexplains things.
Yeah.
Like Death Stranding is kind of notorious for that. Like they'll spend 5 minutes telling you, well, this is why you need to do this, and da da da, and because this means this, and da da da, and so that's why you have to do this, and you know, and it's like, all right, fucking get it,
all right,
like,
all right, Shelby,
you know,
let's go.
And
bro.
it's like,
Just
but
trying to
that's,
play.
I don't know if part of that is the Japanese English translation and the barrier.
But
or
I mean,
whatever,
I do
but
love the amount of effort put into the story. I do love that. Like I can sit here and firmly tell you, it's been a while, but I've never skipped a cutscene through any Metal Gears at all. Period. And I've watched them all, and they were masterfully done.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I loved them to the T. And I
100%.
never, like I said, I've never found myself like, hurry up, you know, hit X on the intro.
Yeah.
Like I've watched everything. The music was perfect.
Yeah.
And I like that, and I see where you're getting at with that. But
Right.
hey, I mean,
no, and I like it too, but I just think for like sometimes like it works for the time and it works in that context. But if you throw it in a new modern shell, like you might have to, you know, trim a little fat
Chains,
here
did
and
you
there.
play Death Stranding?
No, I was just graciously opting out of this side because I don't know anything about
He was
Metal
like,
Gear.
Oh,
Or
damn.
any
Would you ever try
what's
to
the guy
play?
what's the guy's name?
Kojima.
I know nothing about the Kojima guys'
Really?
games at all.
Yeah.
I think I played Metal Gear Solid
2?
Phantom Pain.
yeah, that one. I
Yeah.
played it for about an hour.
Yeah.
That's kind of the worst one to get into
I know,
in terms
Jesus.
of like story.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. But like gameplay wise, it's really solid. It just, you know, it takes a little bit to get it, but it's really, really, really solid and open ended. And like the AI, the stuff they do in there is just like it's next level. Like if you're always sleeking at night, they're gonna wear night vision goggles.
I like
If
that.
you're always
Yeah.
doing headshots, they're gonna start wearing helmets. Like, you know, they keep you on your toes.
They need to make these games even more difficult.
Yeah.
Like when we play,
But in that a smart way, not just in a spongy way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, give me help.
in a
hella
smart,
help.
yeah,
I hate that.
Because
Shit.
then that slightly eliminates people being not only just bored, but like it gives them that drive. Like, oh, this is difficult. I wanna beat this. Like achievements, things of that nature. Just throw the whole kitchen sink at it. Really.
That's kind of why, not to go back, but that's kind of why I felt lukewarm on Helldivers in the beginning, especially jumping in with you guys and we're doing like these super hard difficulties. I'm like, okay, I'm just dying, and it's just like,
bopped,
and I'm just like kill. But like, you know, it gets better and with the abilities and like all this stuff. But yeah, to that degree, like I think I hate it, and that's kind of one of the things I didn't like as much with like Division and stuff. Is like sometimes you're going in, you know, and I kind of like the more like, well, let me kill them or whatever, or let me do this or that, but like maybe they change their tactics, maybe they go invisible, maybe they do like, I don't know, they teleport, I don't know, like the mechanically do something different. Don't just increase health bar, increase damage, whatever.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
The bullet sponge route that a lot of games take is kind of just, I feel like it's just outdated.
It's outdated.
And it's boring. It's a cop out.
It's
like you couldn't think of anything better. Couldn't
Yeah.
think of any way to make this more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, it's the same enemy you've been fighting for, you know, the last 30 hours, but now he's got 2 health bars.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
exactly.
Some Diablo vibes
Basically.
right there.
I mean, the Division 2 is really guilty of it.
Yeah.
Well, all the Division.
But I
Yes.
really like the Division games. I don't know why I really like them. I really am trying to put a finger on it. I guess the whole mechanics and how the game plays, I really like it, considering it's very similar to Last of Us and how, like, you know, you run to cover and whatever. And
third-person
roll.
cover shooter.
Yeah.
I think there is kind of like there's definitely an imbalance. I think there's like a lot more emphasis on first-person shooters versus third-person, like solid, like experiences.
Yeah.
And I think part of that, I feel like personally, there's a little bit of a scratch that hasn't been fully itched, and just that niche too of like a military kind of focused or themed third person good like experience period, but especially multiplayer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like back in the days, like when we had like SOCOM or whatever, or even like Metal Gear Online or all kinds of stuff. It's like nowadays, like I can think of like Ghost Recon, Division. I
mean, I do like
I don't know what else.
competitive games like Rainbow Six Siege, although I haven't played it. But I like those type of tactical where, you know, there's an objective and everyone loves that little competition they can get from a game. And that's why I play more or less. I'm guilty of not trying and pulling off and doing more just solo, just me games. And that's kind of where, I don't know, I guess since we've moved out of that whole nostalgic area of like the games back in the day where they're not simple, but they put more, they invested, in my opinion, they invested a lot more time into the storyline and writing.
Yeah, the character. It was just, it's kind of like
with kind of slightly gutted though. No.
Yeah, and in some ways it's like the music landscape. You know, like when back in the day people had more unique styles and stuff. It's like back in the day you look at like the PS2 catalog, there's so many different kinds of games, like all these different characters that like don't really look alike.
Yeah.
And you know, you even if you go to a specific genre like platformers, like you got all kinds of different stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's part of the natural like progression of like the money that's at stake. And people, they want to make their investment, they want to make their return, and so they know what's hot right now is like a hero shooter or like this kind of like 3-lane competitive shooter, and then they go in on that and they try to do their spin on it. And that's kind of like, you know, why people get so upset, like with the recent, I think it was Conquered, which was one that came out of the State of Play.
Okay.
It's a Overwatch like kind of 5v5, I think.
Have you heard about this? Everything Overwatch, I look at you.
No, not that one specifically. That just kind of reminded me of I don't know what the name of it is, but something about Valve and a game that they were making got leaked, and it also happens to be like a 5v5 shooter type of Overwatch thing.
Right.
I've seen a little bit of that. I don't know the Conquered one though.
That's a new PlayStation one, and I think it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy at home kind of vibe. Like that's the vibe in terms of the characters, but it looked like interesting enough. Like they gave like a story, like here's a like, you know, like the characters and like their personalities, and I was like, it's just a knockoff of Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's like, all right, it's cool enough. Gameplay wise, I thought it looked like a pretty fluid and appealing version of Overwatch. So I personally was kind of like, I'm open to trying it, but then as soon as I saw pre-order, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna drop money on it. Like I'll try it, but it's kind of goes back to that. Like I don't know if I want to. Like,
what's that price tag?
Exactly. They didn't say. So
okay.
I don't know.
Makes it even more iffy.
Yeah.
For me, like, sorry to cut you off.
No.
I've put in a lot of time with Overwatch. I've put in my, you know,
legendary
time.
you
know, I think I could go ahead and retire from it, you know, so I put in my 25 years, like, you know, I need my severance pay or whatever. Yeah. And I had a great time with it. But for me, that 5v5 shooter, since I played so much of it, I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of sentiment on Twitter where I seen that kind of plenty of people felt that way of like hearing like, oh, another 5v5 hero shooter, and basically just people rolling their eyes about it, which I mean, I understand that. I could kind of feel that same sentiment, but I'm always open to try.
Right. And
at least once.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of needs to be like, I hate it when just people just like they like, I get like, oh, another one of these. But like I hate it when people like sit on that sentiment and they're like, oh, you know, like, you know, this is gonna suck, it's gonna bomb, whatever. And it's like, well, hold on, you haven't even tried it yet.
Exactly.
Like, what if, you know, what if it's actually good? And then like, and there was some sentiment too about that. Like they also showed off the Marvel.
Which one?
Marvel Alliance or something. It's just basically another
hero shooter.
Another hero shooter, except it's third person. But yeah, it's Marvel. You got Spider-Man, Venom, like Punisher.
Dope.
Yeah, it's all right. I played it because I did a test for it, and didn't like it. It was too stiff for me, and I was just like, yeah, this is not hitting. Like Overwatch is definitely like a lot better, because that was my comparison point.
But at least you tried it.
But I tried.
You formed your own opinion.
Good old college
exactly, try. And that's why I was like, all right, and that's what I always do. I always go into the like, oh yeah, let me sign up for this, let me sign up for that, and then I'll try it, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool, or it's not for me.
So, real quick, I took a very brief second here to look at some of that Conquered gameplay, and it looks dead on.
Can I see?
Yeah,
I don't got any.
You should check it out. Yeah,
dead on what that Overwatch hype is, and it looks very similar to.
I'm watching it right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like those games. Like that was the first time I've.
Yeah, I'd be down to try it, but like I just hope they do like an open beta. You know, they do like
and I hope, really, I think plenty. Well, I'm sure there's pros and cons to it, but again, I think a lot of these studios should know, like, setting a high price tag is really already dissuading a lot of people. So, again, for me, again, I put my time in Overwatch, and I kind of feel that sentiment of, like, people are kind of sick of the 5v5 hero-based shooter and all that.
Yeah.
And I kind of acknowledge that, hey, listen, it's fun to hate. It's really fun to do that and just be in the echo chamber of hate and dissing and bashing it and all that stuff. But for me, I just don't think it's fair, and I think really you're missing out, because like with the Conquered game, sure, again, I'm kind of over 5v5, but I'll still give it a chance. Who knows? It might bring me back out of retirement. Maybe it'll bring back new life to it, and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm actually really enjoying it. Yeah. There's really no downside to at least trying it and kind of breaking free of that kind of hate train mentality. It's like, well,
And my thing is, like, if it's not for you, then that's the thing. But like,
no harm, no foul.
But somebody else, like, there is a niche, and there is a community that, like, I'm certain that, like, even if the game's not great, there's going to be people that like it, and if it is great, then cool. Like, there's going to be a community for it. And that's the thing, is like, there's a sentiment about that with like VR also. It's like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, VR is like dead on arrival, this and that, or like, and it's like, no, it's like you might not like it, or maybe you haven't had that experience yet. And yes, the technology is budding, continues to get better and better. Yeah. Things that averse people to it, like motion sickness stuff, is getting easier and easier to combat with higher frame rates and better resolutions, and like, just more knowledge about the whole thing. But like, I see comments all the time with the PlayStation one specifically, even within the VR community, people are like, the PlayStation VR is dead. And it's like, well, hold on though, because it's like, they've got Resident Evil 8 full game in VR. They got Resident Evil 4 remake.
Oh, that's
full game in VR. You got Gran Turismo, full game. Yeah. It's like, you have these experiences that are still not on any other platform.
Yeah.
And and the headset technology itself, like, there's nothing with eye tracking out there that's less than $1,000. It's like,
how much is the price tag on the one you got again? $500?
It's $500, but right now it's $100 off. I don't know for how long, but so
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was the first time I've ever played it, obviously, with you, and you've put me on to some clean
yeah,
stuff.
But it is challenging to like show people, because I forget sometimes too. It's like, I've been playing VR for so long that like I can dive into something where I'm like walking around and I can play for hours.
No, and I think that they've really done their due diligence at making sure that they've curved that whole motion sickness thing. Yeah. And the way I think it's all also has to do with your setup at home.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you have a designated space for it, like you do, I feel that it is very enjoyable. And I had a great time when I played it. It wasn't until I played it for maybe an hour or so. We were playing, and I did a function where I was like climbing a wall or something, and of course it trips you out for the first time.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't deathly sick or nothing, but it spun me a little bit, like you were on a merry-go-round, and it was like, whoa. But I had a great time, and I think, honestly, I don't know if it's a unpopular opinion or not, but I think it's the future. I mean, those type of games, we're going to be doing competitive games.
Oh, they already have been. There was that famous Veil one from a couple years back. I think it was like a $30,000 pool. Like, you know, there's definitely investment into that, and I think it will be very big in terms of that. I don't know that it'll ever replace, like, you know, flat gaming.
Yeah.
But I do think it's not going away.
Up with,
no, that's a comment.
That was on the spot. He just cooked that on the spot.
It's a comment. Yeah, flat gaming or pancake gaming.
Ezra's a freestyler, just in case anyone
you want to hire
didn't
this
know
man?
that. He could go off the dome.
He
just makes up new slang like it's nothing.
I know.
New slang, new twang, you know.
Real fast. I don't want to get.
Is this the Marvel one?
Yeah. I want to get. I want to kind of circle back here on the state of play for PlayStation.
Yeah.
So Chains and I, as
Marvel, right.
Ezra has been giving us his opinion on VR and whatnot. We've been taking a little look. We didn't do our homework like we should have, but we did catch a glimpse of a few games that they are showing during the state of play. And honestly, some of these games, they look pretty fun. They look new. They look different. I see the comment section. Of course, this is an IGN video, so I don't know.
It's even more polarized.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. These guys are in here butchering it. But I don't get influenced too much by other people's opinions. Only the homies that I really...
Infinity Nikki.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you're watching along at home, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that one kind of lost me. Infinity Nikki.
That one I think lost 90% of the audience on that.
Right after that, you can watch the analytics. It dipped.
Yeah.
But I did see, of course, and I don't want to steal too much time here on talking about it, but I am very excited. I was informed earlier, Ezra informed me that Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake.
Yep.
And just to kind of go back, before I kind of dive into that slightly, I did play and live streamed, or not live streamed, but
you tried to live stream, but then it broke. Streamed,
but I had the
short message,
the graphics or whatever, and it threw off everything. Didn't record. It said it was recording, didn't record, but I did a full video on the I'm forgetting the name, the Silent Hill one.
Short message, I think.
The short message. God, you're good, man. You got good ass memory. But the short message, I played that, and honestly, it brought me back a lot. It brought me back a lot. And I was very... What are you laughing at? Hold on.
This
Astrobot. I'm actually really excited. I'm really excited for it.
Astro Boy or
Astrobot? There's actually a built-in... I don't know if you guys have tried it, but there's a built-in Astrobot game on PS5.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
It's great. No, it's great. If you like classic Mario,
that's dope.
It's awesome. Dope. It's awesome. But just quick touch on that. That one is very polarizing because... The big
about Infinity Nikki.
The big first Astrobot game was a PSVR game.
Yes.
And it was still to this day a lot of people regard as one of the best VR games because it's a third person platformer, so you're controlling little dude, but you got your perspective and you actually can there's enemies that try to shoot you, so you're dodging and you interact with him. It's very immersive. And so everybody's been like, yeah, they're going to make a sequel, PSVR 2. And then nothing. This is a flat game, not a VR one.
Wow.
They didn't, which is that's one thing. But then it's you don't even have a VR mode. Because that wouldn't be as hard to implement. It's you just change the third person camera to a VR camera and let you move your head around. At the very least, that would have kept a lot of people, myself included, happy. But they dropped the ball on that. But it still looks like a really good game. If you're into that classic platformer Mario, 3D Mario, it's very good. But
I'm seeing right now real
Alien.
Fast. Yeah, the VR Alien Rogue Incursion.
Yep.
This looks pretty badass.
It's gonna be
I know
sick.
They've only showed
the frame rate on the trailer is terrible, but it's early. It's still in production, but
I did see that. That did look.
That's gonna be. That's the type of game. I don't know if I can play it by myself. I'm gonna have to have my girl there with me. Because I got a thing with aliens too.
I did not know this.
Yeah, no, that's a whole nother topic for another thing. But
I believe aliens are real.
Okay. but I would love to play it.
I'm gonna
I'll also probably be terrified.
I will buy it to come play it, or buy my own VR and go play it because this looks. I'm a big Alien fan.
Yeah.
And if one day we get a chance to go through our top movies, Aliens, 1989, I can't remember.
98.
No, hell no. It was in the 80s for sure.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Aliens, with Bill Paxton and all of them in it. That's a good one. One of my favorite all-time movies, by the way. But this Alien Rogue Incursion looks really good. I think, the frame rate looks terrible, But I mean, it tells you, and they've tried
and that could be a number of things. Like that's the thing is like sometimes I've seen this because I also follow shout out to Digital Foundry. They break down the technology behind video games. Sometimes it's not the game, it's the trailer. Like the way that it's rendered. If you're rendering the footage at a different frame rate, it's gonna chop it up.
Oh yeah.
So like, it's not necessarily the game. It does look like it is the game, but just as a footnote, like. You got to take these trailers with a grain of salt because sometimes they look better, sometimes they look worse than the actual end product. So like, and that's the thing, people love to shit on it and go like, "Oh, this is a terrible game."
It's like an immediate reaction almost.
Yeah,
and doesn't let it get off the ground, and that's what's frustrating.
But it's like judge it when it comes out.
Well, and then what happens is you're right. Opinions matter because these guys, they get that rough opinion right away out the gate.
Yeah.
And that the game doesn't have a chance, so there's no online community. It just completely withers away.
Yeah.
And I think that sucks. There's nothing we can do to control that except, play the games that are popular because the other ones don't have servers anymore because people aren't playing them. So they shut it down and they're like, hey, we're done with it. Or you'll have success. Like for me personally, it was interesting to see Apex do what it did because it started out. It's still free to anyone to play, but how it started out, I take complete. What's the word? Not pride. Well, pride in you guys recommending games, us playing it, and then it just blows up.
Yeah.
And that's happened on a couple occasions to a couple games. One of those, don't know who it was, whether it was you or even Sam. It was somebody that recommended Apex. And when we hopped in, it was bare bones. Everyone knows it was.
Yeah.
It was dope. It was to the point. It was cool. It was super fun. It still is.
I had fun with it initially when it came out.
It still is. But obviously, it got popular, so it gets a stranglehold. Everybody dives in on it, and then it's where it's at now, where flashy.
Right. And then everything's about the meta too, like just like with a lot of the competitive games, like you got to play this character.
But going back to that state of play, I mean, I besides the what is it called?
Infinity Nikki.
Yeah. Bad disrespect. Hey man,
I didn't say anything bad about it.
I mean, but
I might have to tap in. When it comes out. I don't know what it was even about.
Yeah.
He was just walking around with a cat or something. I don't even know what was happening.
So that's
very questionable behavior, as one might say.
The alien one looked good. Very excited about that. And then of course, for me, I guess we'll just if you guys are okay with going through like at least one pick on there that you're interested in seeing more about. For me personally, obviously Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Considering I played small amounts of it. I didn't really play all of it. I played halfway through it. I played them all, but I have only played halfway through a little bit because I've played 3. Actually, no, it was 2. Sorry, never mind. It was number 1. I haven't played all the way through.
Okay.
But I have the story because they repeat the story through each one, which is cool. I like that. They'll reference the first one.
Okay.
So if you really haven't played the first one, you really should probably play that first. Go in order. But this looks really good.
It looks really good.
It looks so
good. And
it
looks very faithful. And like, and I didn't watch the full, like, the gameplay breakdown. There's like that separate, like 15-minute gameplay breakdown.
Yeah.
But there's this dude I follow. I've been shouting out everybody, but like Max Durat on YouTube, very cool dude. He breaks down like philosophy and like, concepts in games. He has one of the best like Metal Gear game, videos. Called The Most Profound Moment in Video Game History, and it breaks down Metal Gear Solid 2, and it's beautiful. But he does a lot of good content, and he's a big Silent Hill fan, and I kind of watched his take on it, and he's generally like, while he still has some hesitation because it's Konami and they got a kind of a controversial history with like they're like how they release stuff and how they act stuff, but like. His take is very, very positive, and from what I've seen, and I have started playing Silent Hill 1.
Damn it, that's what I told you.
I know, no, but I'm going through all of them eventually.
Yeah. I want to see you play that.
I know, no, I might have to start over and stream it, but I love it. I love it. It's great, and I think based on what I've played, they're nailing the atmosphere, the way the thickness of the fog is, and just like the creepiness of everything, and. I'm
hoping for a live action TV show with this, to be honest with you.
They are. I think they're making a movie. Another movie.
They've done that.
I know.
I feel like the way it's going now is TV shows all the way.
TV shows.
I mean, like
because
HBO
games
Max,
are so dense.
Max and Amazon Prime and even Netflix. Well, I would lean more on like what Max does, HBO Max does Last of Us and does whatchamacallit, right? What am I Fallout? No.
Prime is Fallout.
Yeah. Well, but both those
I mean, they all could do it because I mean, Netflix, they did Witcher, and they the cyberpunk anime, which is great.
Yeah.
And then
the animes are always great though.
The animes are. They even had a Witcher anime that was really good, and then the Castlevania anime is also.
Yeah.
Dope. It's top notch.
I think personally, watching some of this gameplay right now, I think that this definitely. It stays the course, and this looks good, man.
Yeah, and that's interesting to hear your take because I know you're kind of you're not only you're a big fan, but you're also a strong proponent of like keep it the way it is. Like I remember you saying that with Resident Evil, like the OGs, like you weren't a fan of like the over the shoulder. You wanted like the fixed
when it comes to the
angle.
games. Yeah, the movies. I know I just said what I said about them sticking to the story, but it being kind of more playable. Like you can play around with some of the characters, how they look, how they talk. That's totally fine, in my opinion. And if I've stated otherwise, I go back on that, I guess. But I think that if the story, if you start to change the way you play it, or not play it, but what am I trying
to say? I guess,
the delivery of it, or even like the not the function, but how it's, what's the word? Like when you change the perspective, the camera perspective instead of And in looking at the Silent Hill one, it's pretty spot on, dude. This is crazy. But I've always
Silent
wanted
Hill
to
2 wasn't. It was like Resident Evil, right? Where it was like fixed camera angle. So like this is a departure from that.
It's
from.
I don't know. I guess you're willing to compensate for like if the atmosphere is like spot on, like A plus. Like this looks A plus. The camera angle is pretty.
No, it's
different, but it's not like. Because you're right. It was similar to.
You didn't have that same level of control.
You didn't.
Like,
But I feel like in this instance, and this could sound so stupid, but in this instance, I feel like that benefits this remake because you've always wanted more, a little bit more.
Yeah.
With Resident Evil 2, not Resident Evil 2, but the game, I feel like
they gave enough.
They gave enough, but also I feel like if they did it similar to this where you can move around, I feel like the over the shoulder was too fixed in my opinion.
Sure.
I didn't really get down like that. I didn't like that.
I think part of what you're getting at and what I see is like as how they do it right is that as long as the feel, like the vibe is there, right? Like, cause you feel like very claustrophobic and kind of like stuck, like you're really isolated. Like for instance with the fog, because like part of that, from what I'm assuming here, but part of that I'm sure was a limitation. It's like there was probably an artistic choice and design choice to have like, all right, you can only see so much. Yeah. But I think the amount of how limited it was probably just because they couldn't render that much stuff.
That makes sense
in the frame.
And it's what they could use at the time.
Right. And that's how like Metal Gear has a famous story of that too, where like the initial games, they were kind of born out of like, well, it's kind of not possible, but we figured out a way. And so you do things in a certain way because of that. And I think what they're doing here is smart in that, like, the fog is still very, very, very thick. So you still get that feeling of like, there might be something right there that you might be coming up on. You don't know it's there.
Yeah. And that was the best part about these games was like,
you're like,
hell,
snap.
Like, what is that? But I think them obviously just remaking it and not really doing too much to it, which is great.
Yeah, I think story-wise, it's right.
It's pretty
from
spot
what you're
on.
saying.
No, it's pretty dead spot on. And I personally, from watching even this 15, I don't see. I mean, it's been quite a while since I played, but I don't see anything different.
Yeah.
Like I briefly touched on a second ago. I did play the short message, which was the Silent Hill. I don't know.
It's like a side story, I guess.
Yeah. So they released it for free on PlayStation, and I got to play it and streamed it. Totally didn't, like I said, didn't collect it, which was a bummer because I had a great time. And that was, it's been a while since I've live streamed by myself and something like that. And I know you've mentioned like, oh, you should do more Skyrim because like, I explained that that's the only game I play offline or just by myself. Solo. But with that brought me back, way back. And I'm like, dude, if I could have done this when we originally played it, like a long time ago, day one, I would have the same reaction and be able to capture it. But that it felt good and nostalgic to go back, even with this game that is like a little side quest, side mission, or has different characters, but in the same universe.
Right.
I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And it was scary. And it was crazy because I was like, man, it's been a while since I've had this feeling of a game being, kind of grabbing a hold of me. It's been a while since, and especially one that you've played in that universe at least religiously through all the games. You played every single entry in the franchise. Actually, I haven't played every one. I know there was 2 of them that were released late.
But you probably also, like, even for the ones you didn't play, you probably got the backstory. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You looked into.
And then it loops around, which is cool. Mm-hmm. I like when everything stays connected, like we just talked about, where they fill in the gap. So even if the one, I can't remember what the name of the game was, but one of the Silent Hills, like a guy is a prisoner on a bus and it crashes and he, gets dumped out in like Silent Hill, and he like walks there and he's in like an orange jumpsuit, I think. I don't know if they released it, actually. I don't remember, but I remember that being one of them. Or one of them was released on the Wii or something, and I remember playing that one, and that was even like, this is cool. Like, I don't know. That's my take on the Silent Hill. I'm excited. I'm ready for it, just to play through it. And of course, if they add some other parts to the story, that's fine, as long as they stay the course, tell the main story, and then break off. I mean, I would love for them to develop a new Silent Hill game too, with, like we talked about, in the same universe. Different characters, different. Because that's not a bad thing.
And I think they're probably testing the waters. I think that's what Konami, and I think it's kind of a good thing because they're not really hands on. Like they're basically outsourcing these projects, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the safe and probably good step, because a lot of these also have very specific like creative visions.
Yeah.
That they're going like, all right, let's remake Metal Gear Solid 3, let's remake Silent Hill 2. Like, let's see how that goes before they even think about like doing a new entry. Because the last time they tried to do that with Metal Gear Survive, it's like one of the most shameful things in, well, definitely in Metal Gear history, but in Konami history, I'd say that's another thing. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I definitely want to play Silent Hill 1 fully, so I'm prepared to go into number 2, and I might even see if
it comes out October 8th, I believe. So
I might try to play the original number 2 too, just so I can like go in,
compare them.
Yeah, I would like to do that, and I want to do that with
sick that they're releasing in October though, like right before
That's
Halloween.
Cool, right? Yeah,
that's dope, dude. I'm so excited to have some streams.
You
going.
should do that.
Oh hell yeah! I did that like 3-4 years ago with Friday the 13th, and I had a great time doing that. I'm a very big seasonal guy, so if I could play a Thanksgiving themed game during Thanksgiving, or a holiday game during the holiday season, I will do it. I like when Grand Theft Auto Online did like the snow.
Yeah, that's cool. That's always
pretty cool. All that's dope. So I love doing, especially around Halloween. I love playing scary games, but I've never really put it out there to stream those like I should, because I love watching horror movies during that time, but also all the time. So I would love to do that too.
So then,
what do you
as far as out of the state of play, what I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to that Astrobot rescue mission. I think it's going to be pretty cool, a good fun time. I don't play too many like just straight platformers these days, and I did have a really good time with the free one that's included on the PS5. If you haven't played it out, it's definitely worth a shot. And there's a lot of cool, because it's PlayStation everything. There's a lot of little characters, like you can find like Nathan from Uncharted, or like Snake from Metal Gear. You find all these little characters, or Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us. Yeah. And it's pretty cool. Like it makes you, and
it's like VR chat.
Yeah, kind of. But they lean in on the whole like this is PlayStation, and so you see all the peripherals, like you see the PlayStation and all. You collect them all. It's like it's very nostalgic. Like there's a part where you can fight or go up against the T-Rex boss that was from like the 1990-something tech demo for PS1.
That's tight.
It's pretty dope. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the other one, I think it was called Where Winds Meet, I think. I don't know if it was that one or the other one. Yeah. That kind of looks like a Souls-like, kind of like more action, like Sekiro style. But yeah, out of state of play, that would be it. Otherwise, Metal Gear Solid Delta, let's get it.
Let's get it.
And Behemoth, actually, I should shout out Behemoth.
I was just gonna say that.
That's a VR
you said
one.
That to me. Yeah.
That's a VR one, and that's looking pretty crazy because it's gonna be like Shadow of the Colossus style. You're taking on these giant enemies, but they even did a thing where dude got an arrow shot at him and he caught it and then put it back in his bow and shot it back.
When you sent me, I believe you sent me something with that before.
I texted you because you were asking me like what VR games I'm like looking forward to, and I shouted that out.
Yeah.
And then like a few days later they have this and they show a new trailer for it.
It looks good.
Pretty dope.
It looks good, man. Yeah. And I'm big into that. You already know like the monsters and Colossus type stuff.
And the way he handles the sword and stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Cut somebody's face in half. That was wild.
Yeah. And I'm pretty confident that it'll be good because it's from Skydance Interactive, which they did.
Isn't that a movie?
No.
Studio? It is a movie studio, I thought.
Maybe, but not these guys. No, these guys. They did The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, which is
a video game.
Yeah, it's a VR one, and then they did a part 2 to that, and it's like I haven't played them.
Yeah.
But I have them though, so it's like one of those things to do. But yeah. I hear there's some of the better. Like a lot of people put that on their top lists of VR games. Those Walking Dead games because they're very.
I also appreciated. Shout out to you, sir. I appreciated your list, which I think you should highly recommend going back to, especially after this release of the State of Play, is like a review of some of the games, how you went through them and we're talking about them. Like you did 2 years ago.
The summer one?
Yeah.
I want to do that.
You're
good
at that, man. I like those videos.
Because I like
Ars Poetic.
Ars Poetic on YouTube. ArsPoetic.com.
Yes, ArsPoetic.com. We're plugging that for sure. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. And I think with that, like I said, I trust the homies. And if you were to put something out there, which you have in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
More stuff for sure. And I there's definitely tons, especially on the indie side and things that will come to Steam first. There's so many games that are coming out, and there's a big thriving thing of like the indie, but also AA, so not AAA, but like those middle studios where they have a good amount of funding, just not the super big budget.
Yeah.
And Silent Hill's actually one of those. Bloober team. It's a smaller studio compared to like it's like nowhere near like Infinity Ward or but yeah, that's my what I'm looking forward to. What about now that you've kind of seen what was going on?
What do we think?
Anything or are you? Is it dog water?
No. I mean
dog water.
I could see. I mean, as a joke, yeah. I mean, I could see why people kind of
why it's buns.
Yeah, we're not feeling it. But honestly, it's nothing egregious. It doesn't seem that bad.
Yes.
For me, nothing besides
nothing like speaks.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing's really speaking to me. Nothing really piqued my interest too much. I think the Astrobot one. It's just a shame I'm not really into like platformers like that. I feel like if I was, I might be pretty excited for the Astrobot
like Crash
one.
Bandicoot, though, right? I mean, it's more of a linear platformer.
But you're not really into Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, it was kind of just. Yeah, it was more like that's the exception of it. Yeah. The one that kind of sticks out to me the most would be that Conquered one that I was watching a little bit as you guys were talking.
Interesting.
Again, for me, I mean, I do enjoy a 5v5 hero shooter. Am I a little burnt out? A little bit, but at this point, I've taken a pretty long hiatus away from Overwatch. I've basically indefinite hiatus. I'm kind of done with it.
Abandoned.
Because they switched it up, right?
Wildly, and there's all types of drama going on with it. So I basically stepped away, and that's been the case for a fairly long time. Yeah, and for a lot of people. So I'm in the market. If that door is not permanently closed for another
partially closed.
Yeah, for another hero shooter to kind of sweep me off my feet. But for the Conquered one, I'll definitely keep my eye on it. Yeah. As far as I'm hoping the price tag, I'm really hoping it's free.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion,
I don't think so because it had at the end it's like pre-order for the skin or whatever.
It's like.
But
if it's like $20, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, free games, have kind of a bad stigma with them, so I get that. But for me now, as I'm a little bit older, that free tag is really appealing to me. And for me, I just have watching the gameplay a little bit. I really hope that it can kind of
Deliver.
stick that landing and deliver.
That'd be sick.
There's like a little piece of me, I like to be a pessimist a lot of the time. A little piece of me that feels like it just doesn't have enough.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna kind of get swept by a little bit, just
right.
disregarded, and like it just doesn't have enough going for it.
That's unfortunate.
And that it's just gonna become another kind of forgotten game that gets kind of
I hope
washed
it's
away.
not that.
I hope it's not, but I don't know. A little piece of me's watching the trailer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think people are just gonna be like, eh. It's gonna have like a really high point because people are gonna be checking it out, and then it's gonna just get left behind. Like
I feel it.
There's this one game that came out a while ago.
What's this?
Years ago. It was like the Battleborn. That's funny. That is one. But another one called Evolve.
Oh yeah,
remember that one?
That?
Yeah,
and
that was the asymmetric. Like one's the monster.
It was one's the monster
yeah.
and 4-player, and like just how badly it was forgotten. And just like it's just a relic.
It's funny because my homie, shout out to Panda, he was into that. He tends to be in those ones where it's like it kind of goes nowhere. They get shut down. Yeah. But like, yeah, I was kind of like,
not a big fan.
It's tough though, and that's kind of what I was getting at initially. It's like it's got that Guardians of the Galaxy at home vibe. It's like it definitely looks like I hope they stick the landing also. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it's like it's a forgotten
like Battleborn, or I think there's another Paladins. I think was another
Paladins.
I heard about that game.
Yeah, and it's just these games just kind of just get forgotten about and get left behind. And it's like this game really looks like it might end up being. I hope it's not because
it looks cool, right?
It looks cool.
Like
I think
gameplay
wise, it looks like it could be fun and enjoyable. But it's I'm anxious that it's going to be like, oh, this is fun for like 2 matches, and then everyone leaves.
You know what's another one that it actually reminds me of? One of those games is, I don't know if you remember Lawbreakers.
Yeah. I was going to mention that one. I didn't know if anyone's going to remember that one.
Yeah,
that was really bad.
Lost.
And that was from Cliffy B. That's the dude who, if I'm not mistaken, it was behind Gears of War.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that was his studio, and it flopped, belly flop.
Wait, I do remember that one. Is that the one where
there's like a robot guy?
Yeah, I do remember that.
And it was like a whole.
Oh wow, that flopped.
A remarkable flop.
It was the
flop of a century.
That's
terrible. It was one of those, and it just came and went.
Also, we also have to understand too what they're up against. I mean, pretty soon here. I mean, we got from what I saw. I'm not really tapped in too much with Call of Duty anymore, but I know the Black Ops 6 is supposed to be coming out.
Yes,
probably in November or October. They
probably,
always do those releases.
I think, one of those.
If this comes out around that time, sayonara. There, that ain't happening.
Right.
Maybe. It depends how they do it.
Anything for next year, it's already locked down with GTA 6, bro.
No,
so it's just like I think.
Yeah.
I mean, once that comes out, that's gonna be it.
It's gonna be a hard year for whoever's coming out in GTA.
And I don't know, man.
Or season even, especially.
Did it say when the Conquer game was coming out? I didn't.
I think it is coming out 2024.
Okay.
I don't know when, but I think it's coming out this year.
I will say though, they're kind of. I mean, they would have to capitalize on it, but they're kind of at a prime spot in which that a lot of the community is feeling burned by Overwatch, and that's not in anyone's good graces anymore. No. Now, back in 2016, 2017, Overwatch was top of the game.
Yeah.
No other 5v5 hero shooter was even stepping to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But now, since through their own drama going on over there, people aren't feeling Overwatch, and they've been burned, and people are in droves leaving.
No way.
So now Conquer kind of has like a prime spot to kind of be like, hey, listen, everyone hates Overwatch right now. Why don't you come over here?
Is that why maybe, do you think that's maybe why Finals is doing so well? I feel like the Finals is doing pretty good.
Actually, their player base really dropped off.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's still enough that are keeping it going.
It didn't. Yeah, and I don't know if it was the same exact market for like an Overwatch hero shooters.
Yeah.
You don't think so? Because isn't that when you play a role, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it was.
Do you think it's even
a
just
one-to-one crossover? I mean, there's elements to it, but I don't think like the Overwatch fan base was like, okay, now it's time to jump to Finals because we're gonna get a similar experience. I
thought it was popular.
It was fun though.
The first 3 months.
Yeah, and you know what? They came out with that 5v5.
Yeah.
I was kind of because I know part of it too, which is challenging. It's like sometimes with these games, it's like, oh, it's like a team of 3, so then one of us got to sit out, or like, you know, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, but then they came out with the 5v5 mode, and I was gonna hit you guys up.
Weird though.
Well, it was if I'm not
time,
mistaken, right? No, I think it's permanent? Well, I don't know, maybe, but I think it's part of it. And if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of their take on the search and destroy.
Was that the platform thing? Where you had to get up on the platform and hold it? No.
So like somebody's defending, somebody's planning. So it's just kind of like what you do in the game anyways, just like when you hold a point, you know?
Yeah. It was
so I don't know. I'd be interested to see what they do with it, because I think they still have a really good formula, and there's still no other game that has destructions.
I love the
level
destructions
of that. Like that's something they really have.
Kind of another sidebar here. I heard the new Battlefield coming up. I heard that is going to be playable for a while, is what the developers are saying. Is like, this is the one. This is going to be something that like we play for a very long time.
Really?
Into the future. That it's gonna
I didn't catch that, but I think that's what they wanted 2042 to be, and that's why they had that portal mode. And for me, my perspective, that was the biggest mistake, is they diverted resources to like, here's 2042 and then here's portal mode where you can mix World War II versus I didn't like and that. It was like, it's like a niche idea, but it's like they should have just focused on the core experience of 2042, and honestly it's a lot better, and they've been update after update. There was actually the final update I think came out like a couple weeks ago.
How was that?
And I heard people are enjoying
tried
it. You know, there's a couple people that like regularly check in on it, like Jack Frags or Broken Machine on YouTube. And from what I recall, they're enjoying it. And there's always like every update, they're always like, yeah, this is awesome. But like, there's still something about like, it still doesn't have that level of destructibility that we want.
Yeah.
There is there to some degree, but yeah, like in some of the maps, like that desert one, like when you're out in those buildings, those I know, but those buildings are destructible.
No, they go down completely. But if you're trapped out there with no vehicle, you're running all the way back.
True.
All the way back.
Yeah. So it's dicey, no pun intended, because dicey. But
off the dome.
Because if you don't, but
he's a maniac.
It's dicey, but I still, I still am looking forward to the next one, and but I am a little weary if that's what they're saying, because then they're just probably gonna do another Portal thing, which
we don't need that again.
It can work. Like for instance, when they brought the old maps, like cool,
that was dope.
Like give me the maps and shit, even give me the guns, but like I don't know, it just felt a little too all over the place.
I know we're gonna invest heavy time into the new GTA.
Yeah, no, I'm
coming up, and of course
this
has nothing to do with the state of play, which hopefully in the next one they cover it when it comes closer to time. But man, I'm excited for it. I feel like I'm gonna definitely invest some time. I gotta stick to staying on one game through and through, and that's what happens when these popular ones come out. Is you get deviated and you go and try it out, and then it kind of falls apart, and then not falls apart, but dries up a little bit, and then you go back to either what you know or you try something else.
It's hard,
but I think it is very hard, and it's competitive as hell out there as far as to gain your attention span for that amount of time. I mean, for us, I haven't tapped into GTA 5 Online in a very long time.
Me either.
But I feel like if I were to go back, if you
there'd be some stuff there that you maybe be.
And I was told, updated by Sam, they added what you were talking about.
No,
in
the
the
that was
podcast.
me.
Or you too, and then Sam brought that.
Oh,
up
he
too.
did.
He's like, "Hey, bro, like
they added the taxi mission."
And I was like, I missed that, and you brought that up, and then shortly after he mentioned, because he plays that still.
Yeah.
But with the emergence of the RP. The GTA, it's. Like,
I kind of want to try that.
I really want you to try it. I feel like if you stream it, I'd laugh my ass off because I've seen people do it.
You've seen the videos.
I've seen people do it.
Like you seen the dude where he's in the hood and he's like, "Oh, what's up, bro? You got something? Like, let me get a pole." Like like it's like straight like, "Oh yeah, all right, I got so I
think it's just entertainment too. But I'm excited to start streaming some of that and some of these bigger games that are supposed to be slated to come out. I'm still indifferent on the whole Treyarch developing the Black Ops 6 because I'm a very big Black Ops fan. And and it's been a very long time since one came out. When was the last time Black Ops came out? 4?
Cold War. It wasn't that long. I think it was 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 3 years, but I didn't play it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a dud in my opinion. I played it for a little bit.
Yeah, I think they fell off after 2 personally. Yeah. And you think about it, they're on number 6. Like that's a lot of.
Well, but
misses.
they skipped. They skipped. I don't know. Somebody was making
4,
a comment.
right, or 5.
5.
And they did Cold War instead.
Yeah.
They skipped a number, I believe. Because there's a 4. It was Black Ops 4, which was kind
and then
of
it was Cold War, which is basically 5.
Yeah.
So this is number 6.
Yeah.
But
I think they're kind of running the well a little dry there.
Yeah, but if you think 2 out of 6 are hits, it's like, But yeah, I don't know. I'm open to it, and like the same thing with Call of Duty is like, yeah, I mean, if it's cool.
But then it runs its course, and then you're kind of tired of it. And I'm at that point too, where we can all reference age and everything, but truthfully speaking, a lot of these people here play these games nonstop, and if you're not up to times with it, man, you're getting ran down. And I'm just tired of going in and getting mowed down. Yeah. Whereas more leisurely, I like to go and do mission. Now I'm kind of shifting towards your direction, where it's like, yes, I enjoyed multiplayer a lot, but I also enjoy just with the homie. I can't hang, and if I dedicated time and I set aside and there was no other games I'm playing, absolutely I would murder it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think but it's dicey though, and this is where
because there's kind of cheaters out there.
But it's also part of the conversation with like skill-based matchmaking and that whole thing, can of worms. But like, because sometimes. Or ranked versus unranked and all that. It's like, like even like Veil VR, which is my go-to, and highly, I think is the best VR shooter currently. It is very competitive, and they even have a very competitive community that's dedicated, and they are coming out with a separate competitive playlist.
I like when they do that.
Because it's like, and because even the competitive players, they don't like to shit on the weaker players.
So my question to you is this. I noticed, and it's probably already been in the game, but I noticed I jumped on PUBG a while back, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and I ran some by myself, and I noticed that they've really taken the time to put more into their competitive side of it, which I get what you're saying, because I've ran into players that were like completely ranked, and they would just demolish the whole lobby. Exactly. And they don't find enjoyment in that. They want that.
They don't.
That pushback.
They want the pushback, and like let me tell you, because I'm very tapped into the community. Like and I'm active to a degree, but sometimes I just kind of peep in and watch from a distance.
You're talking about PUBG or
Veil?
Veil.
And dude, like the competitive generally speaking, competitive people hate just mowing down and like being top of the leaderboard, like fish in the barrel stuff. It's not fun for them. Like they want the challenge.
That's kind of like with me and Rocket League. Like we're not the best, but when you go up against some people that are super lower level, it is not fun, and it's boring almost in a way.
It might be like a palate cleanser for like one game, and you're like, all right, but like you get it out your system, and it's like not something you want to stay doing.
No,
you want that back and forth, the overtime, et cetera. But like. Yeah, and then and it sucks because the casual players, and I heard it, like, I even heard it last night when I was playing. Somebody like, oh, I just can't play this game. Like, I'm getting mowed down. Like, I don't know where they come from. How do they know where I'm at? And it's like, it sucks because it's the same thing like what you're saying with Call of Duty and stuff. It's like, it's kind of a crapshoot because you can log on and you can play for 2 hours and you won't have that experience.
No,
like you'll be holding your own. Maybe you're not top of the leaderboard, but you're
right
doing,
in the middle of the pack.
You're doing your thing. But then you log on, that's Tuesday. Then you log on Wednesday and you're just getting mowed, and you're like bottom of the leaderboard. And it's like, and it's hard because especially because sometimes that's it. That first experience, somebody comes in and they're getting mowed, they're gonna be like, this game's not for me, and it's
quit.
And it sucks because it's like, if it was the right time, right place, right lobby, like you'd be having a blast. And I hate it because I hear people go like, oh, this game's just way too hard. And so I like it when they have those options and like, okay, here's a competitive, more serious mode. And then here's like casual play, because sometimes I don't even like, sometimes I just want to like listen to music and just kind of play. So like, I still like playing those style of games, like the, I guess, mindless shooters, or like objective, but like kind of limited objective, like domination, whatever. But like, it's sometimes it's not fun if you're just crapping on everybody and you die like twice. but it's also not fun if you're on the other end and you get 2 kills and you're going like 220, you know, or something like that. So it's like, it sucks because you can't really police that. You can have some like mechanics in place to try and get skill, you know, but then people don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's very divisive.
I feel like it's not done right.
I just know in Vale specifically, generally the competitive community, from what I've gathered, they like to play with competitive people, and it's kind of a steel sharpens steel kind of aspect because they have like a league and they have competitions.
Yeah.
But I also hear like on the Call of Duty side, they don't like skill-based matchmaking because they feel like they can never excel. But it's hard to wrap my head around that because to me it sounds like you just want to like stomp on everybody. Like
basically.
So I don't know, but I know it's a lot more nuanced. It's not black and white, so it's like I don't know what's the right solution ultimately. And I also know that like for VR and like just actually any really multiplayer game in general, it's a tough decision to split competitive and regular because then you're splitting the player base.
True.
And then it becomes harder to keep people.
Retain them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's like if you don't, like if your game's struggling and maybe you only have so many players, that's a real tough choice. And like then maybe people in the competitive or in the casual takes like 2 minutes to find a lobby when if they were all together, it might be like quick. But then at the same time, it's like, it might be quick, but then maybe they're getting shat on, like, you know? So it's like, it's tough. I guess all I'm saying is game development's tough. At the end of the day, these are not easy decisions, and we might want to like say like, oh, they should have done this or that, but I get it. But anyways, any
fair
before we maybe wrap up here.
Our first episode back.
Right, exactly.
Hiatus.
We were in the Bermuda Triangle.
We stick to our namesake. Though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely kept you waiting, huh? I think all in all, I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. We're big PlayStation fans here.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to not just Silent Hill 2, but all of them. I can't say I'm going to purchase every single one, but I definitely will watch gameplay on YouTube or wherever else anybody's going to upload. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be back here with you guys and definitely get an episode back. No matter how long it's been, we'll always, get together and do this. We're excited about the future of the podcast and other topics that we have cooking and pending. So look out for that for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. We have a lot of things that we're thinking about covering in the future, and I also like kind of this free flow too of like we just going to talk about stuff. I think finding that balance is pretty cool, but I definitely want, as a person who definitely been a big PlayStation fan over the years, but definitely PC heavy these days and VR heavy these days, I definitely would love to kind of touch on that more, keep you guys posted on that, and then and encourage you guys to try, especially now that you got a place where you can maybe try VR for free.
Absolutely.
Or even take a headset home for free.
Yes.
Nice.
I think there's a lot of stuff to explore there, and I think it's a good time for gamers. Studios are getting shut down, and there's a lot of stuff that's going sour, but I think it's still a really good time because there's a lot of games to play at the end of the day. Even though a lot of them don't get the spotlight, there's still a lot of good stuff out there. And
I definitely would also say every single time, if I could quit my job and competitively play and get paid for it,
hell yeah,
or stream, I'm doing that. So that's why I call myself a gamer. That's why I would do that, because I love doing it.
We got plans.
But if I definitely could, everyone has to get to that point. I've been doing YouTube for a while now, and I stream not because I'm getting paid or anything. I really love to do it. And I mean, hey, if I got popular and had enough to pay a mortgage and pay bills, I'm doing that, and I would never have no issues, no nothing. And I would love to try any and all the different varieties of games, not just stuck on, the one that I like. But yeah, I'm excited about the future of what PlayStation got rolling out. So,
and I think I'm excited gaming as a whole, because now more than ever, these different platforms are becoming they're becoming closer together. Like for instance, PlayStation games are coming out on PC now.
I love it.
Like day and date for the multiplayer stuff, and even for the single player stuff, it's coming down the line. Xbox is they've been doing that, you know.
Yeah.
And more we're getting this cross-platform stuff where it's like it doesn't matter where you're playing it, we can play the same game. And I'm all for that. And I think the corporations are starting to learn, you know, that like platform exclusivity isn't really all that great. You know,
I'm glad they are, because it's getting frustrating for everybody.
You know, Square Enix they recently came out and said that too, that they've been disappointed with Final Fantasy numbers, and it's like,
you shut it down. You kind of turned off the hose.
If you only come out on PS5, it's like you do have people that are on Xbox that would like to play it, and you have people that are also just either want to play it on PC day one, or they know because the other ones came to PC, they're just gonna wait. You know. So it's like just let the floodgates open. So I'm very excited for that future of like just play the games you want to play wherever they are. But any
parting notes here, Danes? Anything?
Let's
go team. He said.
Not really. I mean, I'm excited and really happy to be back in the booth.
Absolutely.
So that's always great. Really, that's really why I was here.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is great. This is wonderful. I mean, and I'll always be a gamer boy. So
gamers at heart.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. I mean, I'm really interested, and I'll be keeping my eye out on that Conquered game. Trying it out. Praying that it has the legs to withstand and actually withstand the test of time and not be forgotten. But other than that, no, I'm just excited to be back in the booth with the fellas.
Absolutely.
Fellas, party chat style, in person. But we're gonna keep it going, whatever the circumstances may be. So keep tuned, stay tuned. Kept you waiting, huh? And then we also got Three Kings, arspoetic.com.
Hey,
pushing that up. Gonna have some more stuff on the YouTube channel very, very, very soon. Yeah, man, we're gonna keep it going. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming from us. And
absolutely. And it's only gonna get better.
It's only gonna get better. All right. Well, if you made it this far, we appreciate you. We're out.
Peace.
Mic drop.
Kept you waiting, huh?